Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the St. Tammany Parish Zoning Commission meeting. Today is Tuesday, March 7th, 2017. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Ms. Kazabon? Mr. Lauren? Mr. Richardson? Mr. Richard? Mr. Willie? Mr. Davis? Mr. Fitzmaurice? Mr. Doherty? Mr. Drum? Mr. Randolph? Chairman, we have a quorum.
Thank you. This time, we respectfully ask that you silence all phones and electronic devices. If you wish to appeal any of the recommendations of this commission, our appeals cards are to our right. If you wish to speak in front of the commission, we would ask that you fill out a speaker's card so that we have your name and address for our records. Each side will be provided 10 minutes to present with 5 minutes for rebuttal. And lastly, at the end of each case, if you wish to discuss it further, we would ask that you go outside the building, as if you go into the back chamber. It does echo back into this room. This time, I would ask you to stand with an invocation by Commissioner Randolph, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance by Commissioner Lauren.
Gracious Father, once again, we come to you to say thank you for watching over us and protecting us, keeping us from all hurt, harm, and danger. We thank you for this opportunity once again to represent this parish, our government. Bless it, as well as all our staff, and bless the citizens that we serve. Grant us the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding we need to make the right decisions for all. And all these blessings we ask in your holy name. Amen.
In our packets, we have the minutes from our February 7th, 2017 zoning meeting. I'll address any motions or comments. Commissioner Randolph.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Randolph to approve. Second by Commissioner Fitzmaurice. Any questions? Seeing none, please vote. Motion carries. Staff, are there any cases you wish to have postponed?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Number 1 on the agenda, 2016-522, 2016-523, 2016-524, ZC 06-02-011.
Repeat that one, please.
ZC 06-02-011, number 4.
Thank you.
And please note that number 9 on the agenda, 2017-548, has been withdrawn.
Anything else?
This is it, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, we will read into the record these cases first. I will remind, this is a public hearing. The public is invited to speak for, against, or to provide public comment as appropriate. Zoning change request cases, applications for proposed change of zoning district or amendments to the land use ordinance, requiring review and recommendation of approval by the Zoning Commission before action by the Parish Council are as follows. 2016-522-ZC, existing zoning, A2 Suburban District, proposed zoning, HC2 Highway Commercial District, the parcel 1.93 acres. The petitioner, Telus Management, Rebecca Rostrup. The owner, Earl and Mary Dufresne, Julio and Ann Arana. Parcels located on the south side of Parker Drive, west of Louisiana Highway 59, Ward 3, District 5. This case was postponed from the February 7th, 2017 meeting, and again, staff is recommending postponement. Is the petitioner here? State your name and address, ma'am, and your reason for postponement.
Rebecca Rostrup, 3208 North 6th Street in Ocean Springs, Mississippi. We're requesting additional postponement. We're still answering questions, concerns, working with the neighbors, instead of coming in here and trying to answer all the questions. We're just trying to simplify the timing.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak in favor of postponement? Anyone who wishes to speak in opposition? Seeing none, I close it to the public and I bring it to the commission. Commissioner Casabon.
Motion to postpone.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Casabon to postpone, second by Commissioner Fitzmaurice. Any further comments? Commissioner Randolph?
For how long?
For 1 month?
1 month?
For 1 month. Thank you. So we have a motion by Commissioner Casabon to postpone for 1 month, second by Commissioner Fitzmaurice. Please vote. Motion carries. 2016-523-ZC, existing zoning, plan unit development overlay, proposed zoning, A4A single-family residential district, A5 two-family residential district, A8 multifamily residential district, and HC2 highway commercial district. The parcel, 157.31 acres. The petitioner, 285 LLC, Richard Murphy. The owner, 285 LLC, Richard Murphy. The parcel is located on the east side of Louisiana Highway 1077, north of U.S. Highway 190, Ward 1, District 3, postponed from the February 7th, 2017 meeting. Mr. Marone.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Paul Marone on behalf of the petitioners. As you may recall from last month, items 2, 3, and 4 on your agenda are all related. They all deal and arise out of a proposed amendment to the PUD on this property. We would request that the matter be tabled for an additional month. Spoke with Mr. Thompson last week regarding the drainage study that I mentioned to you before. That is still underway. We are hoping to have an opportunity to meet with Councilman Thompson, Dr. Martin, and some of the members of his group within the next week or two. So we need some additional time to work through some of those issues. We would ask for that time, and we'll be back to report to you in April.
Mr. Marone, is it fair to say that you want all of them postponed? Therefore, will you be amenable to have me read into the record and we'll vote on them individually?
Yes, that'd be fine, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, sir. Let me read the other two into the record. And again, counsel for the petitioner has requested postponement. 2016-524-ZC, existing zoning, plan unit development overlay, proposed zoning, A4A single-family residential district, A5 two-family residential district, A8 multifamily residential district, and HC2 highway commercial district and plan unit development. The parcel, 157.31 acres. The petitioner, 285 LLC, Richard Murphy. The owner, 285 LLC, Richard Murphy. The parcel is located on the east side of Louisiana Highway 1077, north of U.S. Highway 190, Ward 1, District 3, postponed from the February 7th, 2017 meeting. Also, zoning case number ZC 06-02-011, planned amendment to the plan unit development overlay, Ward 1, District 3, parcel located on the east and west sides of Louisiana Highway 1077, north of U.S. Highway 190, parcel 122.93 acres. The petitioner, 285 LLC, Richard Murphy. The owner, 285 LLC, Richard Murphy, postponed from the February 7th, 2017 meeting. Counsel for the petitioner has asked for postponement. Is there anyone in the public who wishes to speak in opposition of the postponement? Seeing none, I close it to the public and I bring it to the commission. Commissioner Willie.
It'd be proper to move to postpone, please.
And that would be the first case,
First case.
2016-523-ZC.
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Willie makes a motion to postpone, second by Commissioner Davis. Any further discussion? Postponement for 1 month, Commissioner Willie?
Yes, sir.
1 month. Please vote. Motion for postponement passes. 2016-524-ZC. We have, again, a request by petitioner to postpone for 1 month. Commissioner Willie.
Move to postpone, please.
Motion by Commissioner Willie to postpone for 1 month, second by Commissioner Davis. Any further comments? Seeing none, please vote. Motion carries. Zoning case number ZC 06-02-011. Again, petitioner council requests postponement for 1 month. Commissioner Willie.
Move to postpone for 1 month.
Motion by Commissioner Willie to postpone for 1 month, second by Commissioner Davis. Any further comment? Commissioner Lauren.
Yes, Mr. Morone, may I ask one question?
Yes, sir.
The first two listed as 157.31 acres, and the last one was 122.93 acres. And they were supposed to be all related? I'm not...
They are all related. Two of them are, item 2 is a request to create underlined zoning and a new PUD on the portion of the development that was on the east side of 1077. Item 3 created a PUD on the east side of 1077. And item 4 amended the overall PUD to exclude the property on the east side of 1077.
Okay.
I think, as far as I can tell.
Any further questions? We have a motion by Commissioner Willie to postpone for 1 month, second by Commissioner Davis. Please vote. Motion carries. Okay, get a minute here. 2017-542-ZC, existing zoning, A1 Suburban District, proposed zoning, A1A Suburban District. The parcel, 14.86 acres. The petitioner, Melvin Fortmeyer Jr. The owner, Melvin and Mara Fortmeyer. Parcels located on the south side of Highway 435 and east of Peg Keller Road, Ward 6, District 6. Staff?
The 2025 Future Land Use Plan calls for the area to be developed with agriculture and residential uses. Staff feels there is no compelling reason to recommend approval, considering the site is abutting A1 Suburban Zoning District on the south, east, and west sides. Staff recommends that the request for A1A Suburban District be denied.
Thank you. Is the petitioner here? If you please come to the podium, state your name and address for the record.
Melvin Paul Fortmeyer Jr. The address is 1136 Hardy Drive, Covington, Louisiana, 70433.
And your request for the zoning change.
The request for the zoning change. My parents and I purchased the land together, hoping to equally divide. The back half of the land is in a flood zone A. Oh.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. The back half of the land is flood zone A, and it stays wet. And so the only buildable portion of land is the front, which is flood zone C. So to equally divide, we would have to do it along Highway 435. But under the current zone A1, it requires 300 foot of road frontage. And we only have 255 if we divide, because we're approximately 510 feet wide. So to go to A1A, we would meet the requirement of 200 foot, which would allow us to individually build our own homes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Is there anyone else in the public who wishes to speak in favor of the request? Is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition? Seeing none, I close it to the public and I bring it to the commission. Commissioner Richard.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Staff, the question I have is, could it stay A1 and we just had a variance on the frontage?
It would have to go through the minor subdivision process, go in front of the planning commission, and they would have to request a waiver of the frontage.
And I know it would require 2/3, et cetera, but It's more appealing to me to do that than to actually rezone property amidst all of the other A1. Thank you.
Commissioner Davis.
Question for Mr. Fortmeyer Jr., please.
Yes, sir.
You said you and your parents own this property?
That's correct.
And you're trying to divide this up into two
And
parcels?
just the 2 parts only, that's correct.
And there's nothing on this parcel at all,
No,
as
sir.
currently?
That's correct.
So the front 5 acres off the road is going to be yours, theirs?
No, if we go up the middle, we would
Right.
each have a buildable portion.
Do you want to split this in two vertically, not horizontally?
That's correct. That way we would each have road frontage.
Because you say in the rear that it's wet?
That's correct.
The entire rear 5, let's say the rear 5 acres is completely wet?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
All this is wet.
Commissioner Casabon?
Yes, did you understand what our commissioner was talking about, going through the minor subdivision? It just amounts to, like you said, you could have the same layout, but just go through the minor subdivision through planning.
Okay.
And then we do a variance on, it'd have to be majority,
Two-thirds.
two-thirds majority of us. But in cases like this, I agree to make it smaller, and going through the minor subdivision would accomplish the same thing that you're wanting here. So I agree that I am opposed to changing this to A1A when you can accomplish what you need, going another route. But
Understood.
I'll make a motion to deny.
Motion by Commissioner Casabon to deny.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
just a point of consideration, considering that he applied for the zoning change, would maybe the commission be willing to postpone his case indefinitely to give him a chance to apply for the minor subdivision, go in front of the planning commission and see if he can get
He
approval?
can do that at this time?
And, yeah.
Without,
And then,
okay.
And then
you know,
go through the process.
through-
if
it
for
is
some reason
approved.
it doesn't pass, then he can always
Still
come
has the
back.
case.
and-
Okay.
It's a good recommendation.
Well, let's do
Do you
that.
understand what staff is requesting?
I did not.
As the petitioner, you can petition to the commission to postpone this case indefinitely.
Okay.
Stays,
On the
on the record. However, it affords you the time to go through the other process.
Okay.
And it affords, then it'll go fall into the planning commission. If the planning commission were to rule as Commissioner Richard has described, then you would just withdraw the case and you would accomplish what you want.
Understood.
I'll withdraw my motion to
So,
deny.
so at this time, as the petitioner, if you would like, you can amend your motion to postpone indefinitely.
I would like to do that.
Okay. So the commissioner has requested to postpone the case indefinitely. Is there anyone in the public who wishes to speak in favor? Anyone who wishes to speak in opposition to the petitioner's request? Seeing none, I close it to the public and I'll bring it to the commission. Commissioner Casabon,
Motion to postpone? Is that
indefinitely.
what- indefinitely? Okay.
So moved. Second by Commissioner Richardson. Commissioner Willie.
I'm just looking at it a little different. I'm noticing A2 zoning across the street and down the, I guess, the west side. I didn't have a problem with the A1A. There's A2 in the area,
It's directly across the street, yes, A2.
so what's the problem with that?
There's nothing wrong with that. That's your position.
That's my position. You might want to
That's-
reconsider this for the gentleman.
Commissioner Davis.
I like that idea myself as well. I believe we should withdraw our motion to postpone indefinitely and grant A1A.
Okay, well, the motion to postpone indefinitely would take precedence. However, in the event it doesn't pass, then you gentlemen can come up with another motion. Commissioner Dougherty.
Helen, correct me if I'm wrong, but to go through the planning commission, he's going to have to fill out another application, and there'll be other fees involved. Is that correct?
Well, basically, it will cost him an additional $50 to go in front of the planning commission to request that variance.
$50.
Well, it's an addition, he still has to go through the minor subdivision process.
Right.
And the fact that he will have to request that variance he will have additional fees to pay to
But
go.
the only fees that he will have to incur or will incur is a total of $50, and that includes our advertising?
It is not a total. There's the basic fees that he will have to pay to go through the minor subdivision process. And then there's the fee to request the waiver.
Approximately how many dollars additional is he going to have to come with out of pocket?
Well, we require a $50 advertising fee to
Okay?
go in front of the planning commission, but that does not include processing and recordation fees.
And that is how much, approximately?
Do you have an estimate?
It's $90 per acre plus $67 to have it recorded the courthouse.
So $90 per acre is about roughly $1,400?
Up to $800.
And there's a
Mr.
cap.
Chairman, I think that, honest and truly, we've already got to this part, and for him to have to go back through the planning commission and come up with additional monies, I don't think that's fair to him at this point. So I'd ask Ms. Casabon to consider withdrawing her motion to postpone.
She
unless-
can't. Correct me if I'm wrong, Commissioner Richard. We have a motion and a second. So we would have to vote. We can deny the motion, but at this point in time, we have a postponement which would take precedence over any other motion we currently would have. So what we would have to do is vote on it. If it is denied, then we can continue through the process. So at this point in time, we have a motion by Commissioner Casabon to postpone indefinitely, second by Commissioner Richardson. No, Richardson. Please vote. Motion is denied. Commissioner Fitzmaurice, Commissioner Willie.
I'll move for approval for to the zoning 1A.
Motion by Commissioner Willie to approve A1A, second by Commissioner Lauren. Any other comments? Please vote. Motion carries.
Thank you all.
In all due respect to the public, you're fine, sir, thank you. But all due respect to the public, what you just observed is, again, a debate, different views, having different options, and then going through Robert's Rules process. So everything's completely transparent. You saw where a motion to postpone came up, an alternative, and again, we just go through the process. But again, what happened is, recognizing in further conversation there could be another option that another commissioner would propose. Again, there was a motion up. That motion was denied, which afforded the commission then to come forth. But again, so you understand the commission doesn't always agree. We have different views and different avenues by which we can pursue those. So again, thank you for observing the process. 2017-543-ZC. Existing zoning, NC2, Indoor Retail and Service District. Proposed zoning, HC2, Highway Commercial District. The parcel, 1 acre. The petitioner, Jack Hopper. The owner, Craig Guidry. The parcel is located on the southwest corner of Forest Drive and Park Drive, Ward 4, District 10. Staff?
The 2025 future land use plan calls for the area to be developed with commercial uses. The objective of the request is to allow for the site to be entirely zoned HT2 and developed with a veterinary clinic and separate building for commercial kennel. Although the NC2 zoning allows for veterinary clinics with indoor kennel, it does not allow for a separate building for commercial kennel. Staff does not have any objection to the request. Note that the entire property was zoned C2 Highway Commercial Zoning District before the comprehensive rezoning. Staff recommends that the request for HC2 Highway Commercial be approved.
Thank you. Is the petitioner here?
Mr. Chairman, Jack Hopper, 21449 Marion Lane, Suite 1, and I have Craig Guidry with me, the owner.
And the reason for your request, sir?
To allow the property to be zoned all as one, and the primary process in this, Helen, interrupt me if I'm wrong here, the area in the rear does not allow for the square footage of the building proposed, and we would like to increase that building size.
And the stated in our report, the purpose is for veterinary
That's correct.
and kennel?
Yes.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the public who wishes to speak in favor of the request? Is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition? Please come to the podium, sir. State your name and address for the record.
Yeah, Thomas Boudreau. I'm at 166 Brookside Drive in Mandeville.
And your reason for the opposition?
Yes, sir. Well, we have a lot of concerned neighbors here. We've got a lot of them here. Would you raise your hand, please?
And may I say, do you all support opposition of the request? Show of, respectfully, a show of hands, please, those who would oppose it. Okay, thank you. We will, again, because of time limits, we do that to afford whomever you would like to speak on your behalf to do so. But again, for the commission, we understand the magnitude of the opposition.
Okay.
Please proceed.
Yeah. Well, Forest Park is one of the older neighborhoods in Mandeville. It's a little over 50 years old. There are about 85 lots in this neighborhood. All but a handful are developed with single-family dwellings. There are two entrances to Forest Park, one at Brookside and on the north side, Forest. There are three main roads in our neighborhood. That is Brookside and Forest and Park. You have to go on one of those roads to access any of the lots in our neighborhood. Those roads are very narrow. The measured distance across Park Avenue, immediately behind Lot 5, the one that's in question about zoning, is only 18 feet, which is typical throughout. These narrow roads are further complicated by the fact that there are open ditches on both sides. No sidewalks, and most of the ditches contain water. We're still working with the parish trying to solve some drainage issues. So the pedestrians also have to share that road. So people pushing babies, kids on bicycles, people walking dogs have to share the road with the cars on this very narrow road, and there's no place to bail out. The ditches are too big and too deep to bail out. So it's a very, very congested neighborhood. Immediately across from Lot 5 on Park are two lots that their driveways spill directly onto Park Avenue. So when you are on Park Avenue, you are actually in our neighborhood. We're not opposed to development of the property. The property's been an eyesore for a number of years now, but we want a proper development. We think the NC2 zoning was there for a reason. It's because it is in our neighborhood, and we would like to see the NC2 zoning remain so that we can feel a little bit better about what may take place not only with this group, with the veterinarians here, but in the future. Because most of the residents in this neighborhood have been there a long time. We've seen our children grow up, and now we're watching our grandchildren. We're long-time residents. So we don't know if what may result from this development or the next one. We're also concerned that this may establish a precedence for other undeveloped properties along Park. So there are a lot of concerns here, concerns for our safety, concerns for our traffic, and concerns for our quality of life, as well as our property values. Mike, would you like to speak?
Yeah, if you're ready. My name is Mike Lakeen. I'm also a resident of Forest Park Estates. My wife and I live in the lot directly across from the proposed veterinary clinic. And I'd like to reiterate the things that Tom just mentioned. We welcome development of that property. It's been in distress for quite some time now, but we'd like to see something that was in harmony with our neighborhood, the character of our neighborhood, the personality of our neighborhood. Certainly would like to ensure that the quality of life in our neighborhood is preserved. The suggestion that there would be a commercial kennel placed across the street from us is a little bit threatening to us. We're not certain how the noise of those dogs in open runs would be managed. I would like to mention that given the existing zoning, that a commercial kennel is allowed on the front part of the site, on the HC2, and that a veterinary clinic is allowed on the NC2 portion of the site. However, there are, as perhaps just mentioned, some area limitations that would be dictated by the variances in zoning designations across the two sites. We're concerned about drainage, as Tom just mentioned. We have drainage problems in the neighborhood. They've been addressed with the parish. We're attempting to sort through those right now. We're concerned, obviously, that a major development of whatever sort could contribute to that and other problems that we're trying to deal with. Of greatest concern to us that I'd like to pick up on just now that Tom mentioned was that once this property is zoned HC2, it opens the door for all sorts of things. I realize that Mr. Hopper and his group probably have serious intentions to develop a veterinary clinic right there, but sometimes our best laid plans fall through, and it opens the door for any of a number of other types of development that could be even less desirable to the neighborhood and the quality of life right there. I don't see a compelling reason, there are greater minds in this room working on this than I, to justify the zoning change. It would seem that the property owner and developers should be able to work within the confines of the zoning designations as they exist. Very importantly, those zoning designations were adopted under the UDC back in 2009, I think, when it was adopted by St. Tammany Parish. Very importantly, the NC designation affords a transition between the highway commercial on Causeway Boulevard and our residents. And once more, we welcome reasonable opportunities to develop that property, but would like to see it in harmony with the residential character of the neighborhood behind it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else who would like to speak in opposition? Anyone else in opposition? If not, gentlemen, you have 5 minutes to rebut.
My name's Craig Guidry, by the way. I'm a veterinarian looking to build on the site. I currently own North Lake Veterinary Hospital. I've been a practicing veterinarian in St. Tammany Parish with a little over 26 years now, and we have outgrown our current facility, which is why we purchased that property, so we can improve our facility. I do want to say I do deeply understand the concerns of some of these citizens with regards to traffic flow and that type of thing. The entrance to the business is on the service road. It does not even go through Forest Park in any way, shape, or form. There's a real parking lot for employees that will be accessed, but that is all. So there will be no commercial traffic added to the Forest Park area. As far as the the zoning change, one of the reasons we're changing it is you have two lots there. There's a front lot 2A and a rear lot 5A. The rear lot currently has two zones on it. Part of it is HC2 and part of it is NC2. And that is the reason why we need to clear this up. It just chops the lot up so much that if we are allowed to make the change, what we're trying to do is create a campus-like effect. It's going to be a real asset to the area. I mean, we even created a dog park within the property itself, if you can see that. And so it's an effort to utilize and create as much green space and as pleasant an atmosphere as possible. We're not looking to decrease the property values at all. I do feel it's going to be a big asset to that whole corridor. It'll be one of the nicest facilities on that corridor. So without adding any traffic flow to that subdivision area. No outdoor kennels. I have even NC2, HC2, no desire to produce an outdoor kennel. The current facility that I have now had outdoor kennels when I got it, and I closed them shortly after I got there. It creates a lot of different concerns with security to the building, the climate control within the building, and that type of thing. So I have no plans in any way, shape, or form to create any outdoor kennels, even if it were allowed. I don't want any. So the amount of noise impact to the surrounding subdivision, I respect tremendously, and I would by no means want to create anything towards that. But even for my own needs, it doesn't suit what I'm looking for. But I do think that the overall project that we're looking for is going to create a really, really nice area. It's going to create a dog park. It's going to have a tremendous amount of green space, as you can see. And so while I do understand their concerns, I do think that a lot of them we're taking into consideration with our project and going to prevent a lot of the potential problems that they're worried about in our design.
Thank you. Mr. Hopper, anything further?
No, sir, I don't have anything.
Thank you. Opposition, you also are afforded 5 minutes of rebuttal.
The observations relative to access are readily recognized. Once more, however, the nature of the district that we're in, and by the way, the area that we're talking about right now was originally incorporated with the Forest Park Estate, so to a significant degree, I think that it could be observed that the intent of the subdivision plat was to have created lesser impact types of usages, commercial as they may be, than a noisy kennel, a veterinary clinic across the way. I almost thought it might be amusing to open up a YouTube audio and let you sound what a dog veterinary clinic sounds like, but I didn't know how well that would be received tonight. That would be what I would have to live with every evening, and all of my neighbors as well. Again, however, the HC2 designation is all... That wasn't me, I hope.
No. We got a generator. It's okay.
Reset the clocks?
Oh. Come on, generator. Do your job.
We're very concerned about the HC2 designation as being one that opens the door to more commercial development. The emergency generator ought to be kicking in about now, shouldn't it?
It's trying to.
Okay. I hope the point was made just now that HC2 would be a little bit more imposing than what the UDC envisioned when it originally adopted the NC2, which we're in favor of, and would like to see that respected. The HC2 designation would open the door to other properties in the immediate vicinity being utilized for other purposes that would be equally concernful to the neighborhood. An observation that I'd like to make is while Mr. Hopper's development would be greatly enhanced by his proposed re-subdivision or rezoning of the properties, please bear in mind what it does to our neighborhood, our properties, our quality of life. We'd like this to remain a residential neighborhood. As Tom was mentioned a moment ago, these streets are intended as residential streets. People are walking, people are biking. The introduction of a heavy commercial usage, which by the way could expand to as much as 40,000 square feet, which could go up as much as 60 feet, which is a far cry from what NC2 allows at 5,000 square feet maximum area, and a maximum height, I believe, of 35 feet. We just don't want to see that. That HC2 opens up doors that, while Mr. Hopper's development envisions a certain type of development a year from now, 10 years from now, it might be 6 months from now that, for whatever reason, the veterinary clinic doesn't take shape. We're now confronted with an HC2 that we have to live with for the rest of our lives. I would request that the commission give careful consideration to the zoning requests and, if at all possible, respect the zoning designations that have previously been adopted by law.
Thank you. Any other comments for opposition?
I'm Skip Tremay from Forest Park Estates. We had two nurseries there. First it was Acadian Nursery, then Louisiana Landscape Specialties. I was one of the people, a number of people, who called because the landscape ordinances were never followed, and kept getting from the parish that, you know, they would enforce the landscape ordinances, but they never were. And that's a big concern to all of us as well.
Thank you. This time we'll close it to the public and we'll bring it to the commission. I do have a question for the petitioners. Did you propose, since cases like this where we have an abundance of homeowners typically, oftentimes we'll ask if you had a community meeting with the homeowners to provide the layout, any information to seek the feedback versus just in front of the commission. So it asked, was a community meeting ever proposed or conducted?
Yes, it was.
Yes, proposed?
We did offer to meet with them.
The homeowners?
Yes.
And did that meet? Order. Point of order. Point of order. Understand how we conduct our commission meetings. Any outbursts after this point, I'll ask a sheriff's deputy to remove someone if you become an obstacle in our discussion. We always maintain decorum in our commission. You will have a right to speak if asked a question by the commission, but we will not tolerate any outbursts. So at this time, we're addressing a question to the petitioners. According to Mr. Guidry, we asked if you proposed a community meeting. The answer was yes.
I did with the council lady. I did not ever speak with anybody in the subdivision.
But through the council?
But we did offer to meet with them.
Through the council?
We were supposed to do this this past week.
Okay. And no meeting was conducted?
No meeting was arranged.
Okay. Who is the spokesperson for the homeowners, the gentleman, if you would come up? To your knowledge, did the council?
To our knowledge, I'm speaking with the president of our association. There's been no contact made with us. And we have, by the way, been in communication with Ms. O'Brien as well. There's never been any suggestion that there may have been a community meeting scheduled. Patently not the case.
Do you feel, or does your president of homeowners feel that a community meeting would be warranted? Would you be interested in one? Typically, the homeowners association is the one who would be.
I would say, and I'm speaking for myself right now, that I'd welcome the opportunity to sit down with the developer, but under the pretense and under the condition that the matter before the commission tonight be addressed, and that being that the zoning as currently exists be voted upon and preserved as it presently exists. More than happy to meet with the developers to ensure that we work together, that we assist in every way that we can to ensure that there's viable development for his purposes, for ours as well. But once more, we categorically do not want to have a highway commercial zoning across the street from our residents in the Forest Park Estates.
Just by a show of hands from the opposition, the homeowners, do you concur with the statements that he had made. Thank you. Commissioner Davis.
Question for Mr. Hopper.
Yes, sir.
The facility that you're intending on building, the actual square footage of this new building, what is that going to be?
I don't have the plan, Craig.
Or Mr. Craig?
The campus that we're trying to create is going to have 3 different buildings on it. One of them is going to be a doggy daycare of 2,000 square feet. There will be a kennel of 5,000, and then the hospital itself is 16,000. So that's an acre, and it's on 1.6 acres, the whole spread, though. I mean, and if you see the plan, there's a tremendous amount of green space, more than what's required.
So you're using the front portion and the rear portion?
The front portion is the hospital.
Right.
Okay, and
So that's built?
No, nothing's built yet. We're in planning stages, yes, sir.
We see you're requesting a zoning change for a whole acre. Why couldn't you do it with another half an acre? And leave the NC2 in the rear for the residents? Another half an acre you cannot do, you could still not be able to provide enough room for you to do all of these functions? If the property line was extended half an acre back instead of the whole acre?
It's my understanding that we're even within rights to put a 5,000 square foot kennel as long as there are no outdoor runs to the kennel on the NC2. So in presenting our plan to the parish with regards to setbacks and making a nicer layout, the suggestion was made that we go for the zoning change because it would create a much nicer project with the dog park being allowed and all of that. So that is the reason for the request, is just to make a nicer project.
Just to, Mr. Chairman, if I may.
Yes, please.
When we looked at the site plan that was proposed, is the idea here is that the kennel building is proposed to be a separate building. So considering that it's proposed to be a separate building, then that's what triggered the zoning change. And regarding the comments that Mr. Davis made, well, it may be a possibility for them to look into reducing the size of the requests from 1 acre to maybe rezoning just a portion of the property to accommodate the location of the kennel on the site. That might be something to look into. As far as the use itself of a kennel, it is permitted under the NC2, but it will be restricted to be attached to the building, and then having a split zoning, they will more than likely have to maybe relocate the building on the property.
That's just what I'm thinking. Some kind of way to be able to build and construct what you need without using that whole entire 1 acre. It's almost like having a buffer space, but having actual zoning change for a buffer space.
I'll be willing to look at whatever the parish would suggest as far as possibilities. This was, in presenting our plan, the parish thought this would be a lot easier to do with regards to the zoning change because of the multiple buildings and trying to create a nice project. If you look at the way those 2 lots are, that lot 5A, which is the back lot, and then there's lot 2A. The lot 2A is a smaller portion. It's HC2. That 5A is 2 zones. And that's what's creating the issue, right. Is within 1 lot, you have 2 zones.
Right.
And you can't put a whole building on any one portion of that lot without encroaching upon the other. If you look at the way it's laid out, it's an awkward layout. So, this is, again, just trying to...
Commissioner Davis is proposing, if you will, you can have multiple zonings on a single lot. So it doesn't have to be the entire lot. Okay, and that's what Mr. Davis, or Commissioner Davis is looking at the configuration to the diagrams in front of us. From the homeowner's perspective, it sounds like their concern is HC2 is a fairly intense zoning. And whether it be a year, 10 years, or whatever, you could sell the property and whomever purchases it, there's no limitation.
Right.
And So as Commissioner Davis is trying to do is to see whether or not there could be an appropriate compromise to protect your interest as well as the homeowners.
Mr.
not
Chairman,
opposed to it.
considering that at this point, with all due respect to the citizens who are in this room and the owner of this property, because he has not explored the possibility of rezoning just a portion of the property, then it's possible for the owner to request to postpone, so he can look at this option and also set up a community meeting, or, move forward this evening with his original request, and, you may vote on it as you would like to.
Thank you. Commissioner Fitzmaurice.
I have a question for you. Do you plan on keeping any of the structures that are there currently?
No, sir.
So you're going to start over again?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Commissioner Richard.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. One of the concerns I heard from the public is that they're concerned about a rezoning of this entire tract, and then it's rezoned forever. There are ways, if you conduct a community meeting, to talk with them about their concerns. If in fact they're agreeable to your project, there may be some deed restrictions that can be put in place that at least give them protection. Because quite frankly, if for some reason the project doesn't go, all of a sudden we've got a piece of property here that's Zone 8C2 that they have to live with and we all have to live with. So there's a recommendation to maybe postpone this if you're willing, not bring it to a vote, and maybe conduct that community meeting to find out. It sounds to me like there's possibly some compromise here.
Yeah, that sounds very reasonable.
So you'd like to
I guess ask for a
amend your
postpone.
petition to postpone. Helen, given the magnitude, what time period would you say? Could it be 1 month, or would it be
1
longer?
month, and then if the commissioner, as well as the owner, wish, we can have a community meeting on March 21st, which is a Tuesday, at 6 p.m.
Is that convenient with the petitioner?
Yes, we can make it work.
March 21st, 6 p.m. here at the chamber. Any further comments? Commissioner Davis,
I make a motion to postpone
for 1 month.
for 1 month.
Second by Commissioner Dougherty. Commissioner Fitzmaurice, comment?
I'll attend.
Oh, you'll attend?
I'll attend, yes.
As well as I.
Commissioner Fitzmaurice, Commissioner Davis, Commissioner Richard, Commissioner Randolph.
Excellent.
Okay. Would ask that you guys select a chair, unless have a Commissioner Richard care to chair. Commissioner Davis, Richard. Okay. First action, we have in front of us a motion to postpone for 1 month by Commissioner Davis, second by Commissioner Dougherty. Please vote. Motion carries. Now further, what will happen is there will be a community meeting that will be held here in the chamber on Tuesday. Is that a Tuesday, Helen? March 21st at 6 p.m. 4 commissioners will be in attendance. Commissioner Richard will chair. At that time, you will be asked to just have an open discussion with the proposed petitioner. Petitioner will also be given time to work with the parish as to a compromise. As Commissioner Richard also stated, we do not have the ability to conditionally zone anything. However, between the petitioner and yourselves, you would have the opportunity to have deed restricted. Because again, from our perspective and our backgrounds, we heard what your concern is. HC2 is an intensive zoning. At some point in time, the property sells. You can do all types of things. However, based on partial rezoning and what the petitioner is trying to provide, it'll afford you an opportunity to delve into it further and possibly come up with a compromise. Regardless, a month from now, it'll be back on our schedule, and then depending upon what you all have come up with, it'll come in front of the commission if any zoning is required. Okay?
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. We'll give you a few moments to have everyone leave the chamber. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to proceed. 2017-544-ZC, existing zoning, A1A Suburban District, proposed zoning, A3 Suburban District, the parcel 1.45 acres, the petitioner, Beth Turkin, the owner, Carolyn Shepard Opsel, representative, Charles L. Shepard, parcel located on the north side of Cusimano Road, west of 24th Street, south of Pichon Road, being 27073, Cusimano Road, Lacombe, Ward 7, District 7. Staff?
The 2025 future land use plan calls for the area to be developed with residential uses. Staff does not see any compelling reason to recommend approval, considering the site is surrounded by undeveloped and single-family residential parcels, all zoned A1 Suburban District. The staff recommends that the request for A3 Suburban District be denied.
Thank you. Is the petitioner here? Yes, ma'am. Please come to the podium, state your name and address.
Beth Shepard Turkin, 61141 Antonia Street, Lacombe.
Ms. Turkin, your reason for the request.
The reason for the request, this is actually the estate of our mother. Our father passed away in '89, my mother passed away in 2015. I am not actually the owner. There are 5 children who are actually the owners of the property. Charles L. Shepard Jr. is my brother, who is also here. He has lived on that property. My mother had a house on the property. He has a manufactured home on the property and has lived on that property since 1979. The home has been in our family since 1963. So what we were proposing to do, because he would like to remain there, is subdivide that into 2 pieces, almost equal. Maybe his side might be a little smaller than the side that the house is on because of where we have a natural kind of dividing line with a line of azalea bushes all the way through the property. If you'll notice, I know that on the Pichon side, which is part of Farm 552, those parcels over there, I'm assuming that the reason this was denied because of the size, perhaps? Is that?
It's for staff.
Is that correct? Okay, well, I would really like to point out the size of those pieces on Pichon Road. They may go deeper, but they're very narrow across the front. And that's for instance, if you go straight across, that is basically almost the same width of property, and that's divided into 2 pieces. Now, another thing, you can't see it on the picture, but if you look at Pichon Road and 24th Street, there's a corner. Well, on the opposite corner of that same intersection, there are 3 houses that are on a piece of property that is 150 feet wide and 100 feet deep. 3 dwellings on a very small piece of property. This Cusum Manor Road is a dead-end street, and this is at the dead-end piece of property that we're talking about here. That Farm 553 is completely undeveloped. It's all, we played in those fields when we were kids. It's all grown over now. So there's nothing there. So we would like to ask the commission to reconsider the request.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the public who wishes to speak in favor of the request? Yes, sir.
My name is Charles Shepard. I reside on the property. I checked with the planning and development with Jay Watson, and he was the only one that said that seeing that there are 2 existing households there since '79, and we both have the new sewer treatment systems, that he would have no problem with size-wise of signing off on a waiver. I grew up there. I raised my family there. The property is really too large. It's just me and my wife now. We don't need anything that big, 1.45 acres. It would be easier on me to maintain the smaller piece of property. I've noticed, we've lived here since 1963, that they do have a lot of small households on even smaller places. So I'm just asking the council to reconsider, or the parish development to reconsider, that it would be a tremendous help for me.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Is there anyone else who wishes to speak in favor? Is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition? Seeing none at this time, I close it to the public, and I bring it to the commission. Commissioner Davis.
Yeah, I know this area very well. I live in Lacombe out there. Matter of fact, I believe on Cusimano, I just passed it up yesterday. As far as having 1.45 acres with a A1A zoning, that's a little bit out of standards as well, too, right? Should be A2. But I don't have a problem with rezoning this to A3 unless there's some other kind of way where we could just re-subdivide it. The person requesting, there'll only be 2 parcels on this entire property? I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Davis to approve, second by Commissioner Randolph. Any further comments? Commissioner Randolph, any further comments?
Yes, I just wanted to confirm what Commissioner Davis explained, that, or asked, that there's only going to be 2 parcels on this. Okay, thank you.
Motion by Commissioner Davis to approve, second by Commissioner Randolph. Please vote. Motion carries. Thank you. 2017-545-ZC, existing zoning, NC6, Public, Cultural, and Recreational District, in A2, Suburban District. Proposed zoning, NC6, Public, Cultural, and Recreational District. The parcel, 2.879 acres. The petitioner, Jeff Shane. The owner, Hazel Fogg. The parcel is located on the south side of Highway 435, east of Murphy Singletary Road, Ward 6, District 6. Staff.
The 2025 future land use plan calls for the area to be developed with agricultural and residential uses. Staff does not completely object to the request, considering that the front of the property is already zoned NC6. However, staff feels that the rear portion of the property should remain zone A2, considering the rural character of the area and the proximity of some of the residences in the area. After a discussion with the petitioner, Mr. Shane, he submitted a request to change his original request and reduce the size of the property or reduce the size of the zoning change to keep a 100-foot buffer in the rear, Zone A2. At this time, staff recommend denial as originally requested. I just wanted to bring to your attention that Mr. Shane wanted to amend his request.
Thank you. Mr. Shane.
Good evening. My name is Jeff Shane. I'm with the Jones Fussell Law Firm at P.O. Box 1810 in Covington, and I represent the petitioner in this matter, also the current landowner, Mrs. Fogg, and her family. And I would like to begin the hearing by confirming the comments that Ms. Lambert made as it relates to us amending the application. If you would, I'd like you to turn to the third page of the staff report, which should be the survey of John G. Cummings and Associates. And assuming all of you are on that page, I'd like the record to reflect that at this time we would amend our application and actually remove the rear 150 feet from consideration this evening. If you're looking at the survey, you will see that going west to east, that's lots 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Each of those lots, as you can see, 60 feet wide by 150 feet in depth. So those lots would not be a part of the application. They would remain zoned A2. And as a practical matter, I might add that in connection with our proposed development of a Dollar General store at this location, we would not be developing that rear property. There would be no reason for us to place any structures, any concrete, any parking, etc. There is a likelihood that we will have a detention pond in that area, but again, that would be the only use. It would not be any part of what I guess we would call the active site plan, where there'd be people moving around, cars parking, lights, and things of that nature. With that having been said, I'd like you to look at the second page of your staff packet. And if you'll take a look at the zoning, we are right in the center of Tallahassee, where the spur coming from the north intersects Highway 435. And as you can see, through comprehensive rezoning, there was this rectangular shaped area of NC6 that was created. Somewhat interestingly, this parcel, although it's almost 3 acres in size, only the first 120 feet or so of depth was zoned NC6. So as you can see, looking at the map, we have a situation where roughly 120 feet plus or minus is zoned NC6, whereas our site plan requires really that we have much closer to 250 to 260 feet of depth of NC6. So that is what necessitates the request, meaning that the northerly portion is already zoned appropriately. It's the next portion that we need to have zoned NC6. I would also suggest that if you look at the last page of your staff report, which is the aerial or Google, maybe we can now better put this in perspective. If you look at that, again, you can imagine where that NC6 zoning overlay is. Immediately to the east and abutting this site is the Tallahassee store, which is, of course, a commercial venture. There's also some other business in that particular area where the spur intersects Highway 435, just a little to the east, the post office, etc. As a result of taking the rear 150 feet out, you can see that area that is significantly wooded with underbrush, etc., by looking at that aerial. And you'll see that that is, in essence, going to form a considerable buffer for the people that live in that area. We respect the fact that there are some residents that live along the road to the west, immediately to the west, which you can see on the map as, I think it's Murphy Singletary, excuse me, road. And that is another reason that we obviously amend the request to give those people to the west and to the rear the protection that I have suggested. So with that having been said, Mr. Chair, if I could reserve time for rebuttal and address any questions that you may have or any questions that are posed by residents that may be in attendance this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Shane.
Yes,
Is there anyone else who wishes to speak in favor of the request? In favor of the request? Or no? Does anyone wish to speak in opposition? Yes. Please come to the podium, state your name and address.
Hi, my name is Amy Smith Ladner. I'm the one that lives on Murphy Singletary Road, as Mr. Shane discussed the things that he wants to do. Can you imagine, I moved here when I was 4 years old. I'll be 54 tomorrow. Can you imagine sitting on your beautiful front porch and what do you see? A Dollar General. Can you imagine? Wooded area? Nah, take a ride, come see. It's not that wooded, and it's sad. Dollar Generals are everywhere. You know where the nearest one is? Go to Bush, 12 minutes away. You want to know where the next one is? Go to Pearl River, 14 minutes away. And then after that one that's 14 minutes away, go another 5 more minutes and there's another Dollar General. So you mean to tell me that all of a sudden, Tallahassee, and have y'all been to Tallahassee? Blink of an eye, blink. That has Tracy's store that's here today, that her property, her country store is one step from a Dollar General. How sad is that? We don't need it. We have a petition of some of the people that have signed. They're against it. But I mean, gosh, I can't imagine that any of you here or anyone in this audience would want a Dollar General and I look off my front porch and I see a Dollar General. That is terrible. I am at the mercy of you guys and my council member to make the difference, and please don't put a Dollar General there. That store has been in Tallahassee since 1913. I bought a piece of bubble gum back in the day for a penny. My parents moved us out of the city because they wanted us to grow in a rural area. I love the peace and quiet. I don't have a problem with progress in this parish because Lord knows I graduated from Covington in 1981 and I've seen a lot. A lot. And all I'm asking you is please consider not putting a Dollar General there. They can have a Dollar General off of 41. They can have it anywhere else. But right there, my gosh, I will sit on a beautiful front porch and what do I see is a Dollar General. The noise, the traffic, the lights, the people coming in and out. No one wants that. No one wants that. So please consider this. And now we have the store owner that's going to talk as well. Tracy, that owns the store, that has struggled keeping her local store open. And let's keep the people supporting her store that has been there since 1913. And there's no other commercial in that town but Tracy and the post office. The original little small post office that is no bigger than this is what she owns today. And then what do we have? We have right there, we have the post office that is right catty corner across from that. That's all we have commercial, because you blink in Tallahassee. But I feel for her, I feel for some of the other people. We don't want it. We don't want it. But can you imagine as a business owner, like what she's going through too, that, and she's at the mercy of your decision, that one step is from your store to another store that doesn't have the population or the people to support it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
My name is Tracy Moore, and I am the owner of that store.
You can pull the microphone down to you. There you go.
Sorry, short. And she's right, I am standing here, I'm a little nervous because I am at the mercy of all of you people sitting here. I am the center of the spur. My store sits at the spur. I'm here, you're the spur. I provide community service for this place. It's not just a store. My husband works 50 hours a week to support my endeavors to support my community. I make sure that all children in Tallahassee have school clothes with no holes and no stains. I make sure that the children there have coats for the winter. I make sure that they have proper shoes on their feet. No one pays for these items at my store. I have lots of things for sale in there. I go to Goodwill, I purchase clothes, and I set them there, and if they need them, they are there for free. I give rides to pharmacies. Lady sitting back here today could not make it to Braswell Drugs to pick up her medication, nor did she have the money to get it, which has happened more than one occasion. And I left today to go to Braswell Drugs to pick up her medication for her Parkinson's disease because she has to have it. Braswell Drugs is a far drive from Tallahassee Grocery, but I do it when she needs it because she has no other dependents. I feed people. My store provides Christmas and Thanksgiving dinner free of charge for everyone in Tallahassee that could not or does not have the means to fix it for themselves. We do the full spread. We ask for no money. I take no donations for that. I provide transportation to doctor's offices. I could go on, and I'm not really good about saying the things that I do because I don't do this for anything in return except that these people live a good life, and they're happy there. They're content there. They don't want to move. If you go to Tallahassee and you question any of the people in the town, they will tell you the same thing out of me and my husband. We give away dog food for people to feed their dogs because God knows it's the country and people want puppies. They always have more than they can afford to take care of. I will not see an animal starve. I won't see a human starve. We don't need a Dollar General there. The Dollar General will cause me problems. It's going to cause our business problems. I do have, I think, roughly 160 signatures here, and I think there's 212 people in Tallahassee. Can I have these? And that's only been done in a month's time. I have a small car. I brought who I couldn't fit anybody else. A lot of people have no transportation in Tallahassee. They walk to my store. I have people who get paid once a month on Social Security. They have charge accounts at my store. There would be no other way for them in the middle of the month to get some milk, to get some bread, to get some eggs, to get some soap, to get some toilet paper if they did not come to Tallahassee Grocery and charge it until the 1st or the 3rd when they get their Social Security checks, or the 1st or the 15th when they get their food stamp card. Dollar General's not going to let them do that. They're short a quarter at Dollar General. They're leaving, and they're not leaving with their loaf of bread. I'm not opposed to development. I would like to see it a playground so that my carport under the store will not have to be used for children to bounce basketballs up on my walls, but that's okay. They can do that. I have no problem with that. I provide lots of outside toys for them. There's a nice little grassy area on the other side of the store that they can play in as well. I've even put swimming pools out there in the summertime for little kids to play in as long as their parents are there to sit with them. There's nothing out there. There's Tallahassee Grocery. It's been there since 1913. I am working with Mr. Joseph Yarborough at the current time. He is an archaeologist. We are in the process of getting some grants written because it is historical property. It has a lot of Cherokee Indian heritage. There have been numerous artifacts found in the town, and like Amy said, you blink and you miss it. So who knows what we're going to find there? I don't want them to find a Dollar General there. I want them to find artifacts. I want them to preserve this town. So I am at the mercy of you. I don't think that we need to commercialize it with the Dollar General. I think it needs to stay the same. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak in opposition?
My name is Donald Davis. I'm from Tallahassee, Louisiana. Address 31305, 435 west of Tallahassee. They want to put that dollar store there. They don't know nothing about it. They went under the radar on us. They tell me, there's a dollar store coming through. So I said, new road coming through there? We don't need it. Where they going to build this thing at? That's a wetland. And y'all ever heard of a gopher turtle? That's an endangered species. And that's his part of his habitat where they're going to put this store at Dollar General. I've been there all my life, almost 65 years. I'm retired. Like she said, I got to check once a month. Few food stamps, I'm out. I go to this lady. She helps me out till I get my next check in. That's the way she is. Good people. We don't need it. This house right going to be right across from them. Amy's right behind them. The girl just spoke first. Middle of nowhere, man. Middle of nowhere. Tallahassee had a name in the late 1750s, Indian name. It means small pebble, Indian name. And why we need a store out in the middle of nowhere, like Miss Tracy was saying, 5 minutes here, 10 minutes there. There's nine dollar stores around us. Buzz, Bogaloo, Abita, Cubby, Hickory, Pearl River. Not how many in Mandeville or Lacombe. We don't need it. We do not need it. That's all I got to say. Thank you,
sir. Ma'am, we'll let you speak, but we'll ask for about 1 minute.
Yes, sir.
If you pull that down to your, thank you.
My name is Georgia Wood, and I live catty corner to where they're proposing to put the dollar store. In the mornings, I go out in my robe and I have coffee with Donald, and whoever comes by, I fix coffee for everybody. Everybody drives by, toots their horn, waves. It's going to affect our quality of life out there. I have Parkinson's, and I couldn't get to the drugstore today. So Tracy went for me. I can't see it happening. I can't see it going in there. It's going to put traffic on the road. The children are not going to be able to ride their bikes, play where they play. And it's going to affect their quality of life. It's going to put traffic out there. It's going to put people in my front door. I'm not going to be able to go outside my robe and drink coffee anymore, even with Donald and the rest of them. And I'd just like to ask you not to put it there. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
This time, we're going to close it to opposition and go to rebuttal. Mr. Shane?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I guess firstly, with all due respect to the residents that spoke, and I do say this with respect, I'm not sure that the idea that because either the store owner doesn't want competition or those in the community don't feel that they care to shop at another location, I'm not really sure that that's the issue that is presented to you this evening. I would like to think that the issue is the appropriateness of rezoning a portion of this 2.8 acre parcel to allow for a building site, certainly for a Dollar General. I think the conditions would be far different if none of this tract were zoned NC6 and all of it were zoned A2, because perhaps staff would have felt differently as it relates to the request, and perhaps it would be truly a change of character. But let's remember a couple of things. This tract currently has the same depth of NC6 as the adjoining property. And if that were the case, perhaps either my developer or someone else could build a very similar structure to what currently is next door. And if so, I mean, I think in this country, all of us should have an opportunity to seek our fortune and compete. I don't believe that the Dollar General will directly compete with this store in every respect, particularly when I hear the wonderful things that apparently the proprietor does for everyone in that community. I applaud her and appreciate that. I don't know her personally, but who would suggest that those aren't wonderful things that can't continue? I think, to be more specific, this store is not going to be within view of Miss Ladner's residence. Miss Ladner is at the end of the road. I rode not onto her driveway, but as close as I could without entering her driveway, so that I would make sure that I had a good visual. And that factored prominently into our thoughts about not zoning the rear 150 feet. Also, if you'll take a look at the survey again, a very important point to be made, and that is the idea that this Dollar General store is going to be just a step away to the west of the existing store is simply not the case. If you'll take a look at the survey, you will see, and you can also see it on the aerial, this power line right-of-way that crosses the property in a diagonal manner, running in a southwesterly direction from Highway 435. This entire development is on the west side of that right-of-way. None of it on the east side. In fact, I did some calculations, and I would think that we're probably 140 feet west of our eastern line before our development begins. So it's simply not going to be a stone throw, if you will, away from the existing business. I would like to think that the Dollar General, as it has in most communities in this parish and in the region, is going to bring some goods and some opportunities that may not be in that community, and also understand that ventures like this not only want to go into play to take care of needs of people that are currently there, but also they look at it with an eye to the future as to the people that are going to be moving into that area. And perhaps people will be inclined to move to that area in part if they know that there are more opportunities to get various types of hard goods, et cetera, that won't require them to travel the great distances that they otherwise do. Now, this store obviously is not going to be a drugstore, so in no way are we providing prescription filling or things that you would classically find in a drugstore. We will not be cooking and serving prepared foods and things of that nature. So from that standpoint, it really is a kind of a totally different profile. As you know, if this property were to be rezoned, we will need to meet all parish, state, and federal requirements as it relates to drainage, as it relates to fill, as it relates to wetlands, as it relates possibly to archaeological items, if in fact there are endangered species. I mean, the point is, I respect the comments that have been made, but to suggest that this property is different than the property that's been developed to the east or the property to the north, I don't think there's any foundation for that. And my point is that those are standards and hurdles that my client understands it will need to meet if it's given the opportunity to go forward. At the end of the day, in 2009, the parish council saw fit to create a block of NC6 at the intersection of the Spur and 435 in Tallahassee. They didn't just zone businesses that were currently there. They envisioned that there would be growth, and they wanted to suggest to the business community that if you want to plan and build a business in this community, this is an area that you should go. In my view, the zoning was probably a little shallow in only granting 120 feet of depth, because that's a pretty limited depth when you start thinking about the building, the parking, the setbacks, the buffers, etc. So I don't think it's unreasonable to want to have a greater depth, hence the reason for the zoning change. I also think it's very significant that we have recognized the concerns of some by eliminating the rear 150 feet of our request and allowing it to remain A2. In this day and age, I think all of us are generally familiar with Dollar General stores. And I think that they have been an asset to nearly every community where they've been placed. They're not an eyesore, they're not a nuisance, they're not noisy, they're not a problem. In fact, they bring things to the community. So I hope that you agree that this modified zoning request is reasonable. The zoning is compatible with a portion of the property that's currently zoned NC6 and also compatible with abutting developed and undeveloped property that is zoned NC6, and that you see fit to recommend that the council rezone the portion in question to NC6. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Shane. Yes, ma'am, you have 5 minutes of rebuttal.
I need to say my name again? Or no? Okay. Let me tell you this. What's so interesting that he's saying is that, you know, it's going to be good for the community. How can it be good for the community when these people have no money? No money. Donald Davis, several of these other people, they don't have any money. What Tracy says she does for the community, she does for the community. These people in Tallahassee, most of them are very poor and live on disability. So what's going to happen is my first question. When you put a Dollar General there and it doesn't make it, well, guess what? Then you got an empty building. You got the kids across from her store that keep robbing everybody, broken at her 6 times. Go look at her GoFundMe accounts. Check everything out there. What's going to happen to that building then when it's empty? What then? Just like there's one on 59, am I right? Down there at 59, there was a Dollar General. They shut that one down and they did another one. Believe me, I've done my research. I have done my research. I knew he was the attorney for them. I know who's involved in a lot of this real estate stuff. I did my research. And all I'm saying is that if y'all approve a Dollar General there in a town that is a blink of an eye, I want you to understand something. It's not going to be supported. Those people in that area, the majority of those people are extremely, and I say this, extremely poor. So the thing I would recommend you to do, if you can't make a decision, is come down that street, come see it. Because I wish he would have knocked on my door, because I do hospice. I'm a hospice marketing rep, and I've been spending a lot of time creating a new company to be started up in this parish to help people. I would have offered him a cup of coffee. Him and I would have walked it, and we would have talked about it. Just like I recommend all y'all, let's do it. Let me show you how short that road is. Because back in the day, I'm going to tell you this, when Gary Singletary was over our area, I called Gary and I said, Gary, I got a problem. I got the fogs wanting to stop the back road. Because let me explain something to you. Everybody's property, and I'm sure you're aware of this, crosses the road. And it's a very short road.
Excuse me, ma'am, address the commission.
Okay, it's a very short
Address the
road.
commission.
It's a very short road, is what I'm saying. This isn't like I'm at a dead-end road at all. There's going to be the lights, the noise, the traffic, everything else. I mean, when I go down our road, guess what it's going to be? The parking lot and the Dollar General. I'm not up for that. I just came from a business meeting. Otherwise, I would have gotten a bunch of people here tonight that I did not have time to do. And Tracy has a small car that she couldn't get a lot of people here. But just consider that that is an extremely poor town. And before you make a decision, maybe ride out there. Come look at the road, how short it is, to see how this is. I know the power line he's talking about, that little small area right there. But the problem is that the town can't afford it. So what's going to happen when you have an empty building? That's an eyesore then. That's a problem. That's a serious problem. Because where all the other Dollar Generals are, the Bush area, the Pearl River area, I know the ones that are over there also out by Lee Road and all, they have people that have money. They have more population of people. This little town does not. And I'm telling you, people are not going to be able to support it because what she says she does do that, I'm here to tell you. She helps these people. Some people in our area don't even have electricity, and she heats up the food for them. They don't have electricity. There's my street, then there's another street before some of these people don't even have anything, I'm telling you. And she helps them. She helps people locally to get their taxes done in her store. She struggles helping those people. So what do you think is going to happen with the Dollar General? They're going to close the doors. They're not going to be able to make it because they're not going to give these people 2 pennies over to get that loaf of bread or to get that milk or to do anything for them. And the noise factor is going to be unreal for me. I am just not for it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. This time, we're going to close it to the public and bring it to the commission. Commissioner Richard.
First, I want to make sure everybody understands, and I'm fairly certain we do understand. Our job here is not to approve a Dollar General. We're here to address a zoning issue. So when we finished here tonight, whether we make this change or not, that part of that property is already zoned commercial, and we, as a commission, have no say as to what actually goes there. So please, when we talk about this, we're talking about a piece of property and zoning, not a particular business. Thank you.
Commissioner Davis.
Yes, just look, Jeff? Just looking at this property, I can see there's NC6 on both sides of the highway. And you're saying you'd like to go ahead and resubmit to say 150 feet in the back of the property to leave as A2?
Yes, sir.
Is that correct? So the front NC6 portion south of the highway is NC6, you say it's 120 feet?
Approximately.
What would be the additional NC6 needed?
I would say roughly 150 feet. If you look at the survey, you'll see that the width of lots 6 and 7 are each 59 feet.
Yeah.
So 2 times that would be 128.
Right.
And then if my estimate's correct, and you add another 30 feet to that.
Right.
So maybe roughly 158 feet, but leaving 150 feet below that, again, is A2.
You know, if this was on any other road in the parish, and I saw this already zoned area as NC6 on both sides of the highway in such a symmetrical way, let's say 120 feet on each side and stuff, and you request to have an additional 150 or so more added in the back, I would question that. I just would question that. From my point of view, I just don't feel a need to rezone this property. That's just my opinion on it. I'll make a motion to deny.
Motion by Commissioner Davis to deny, second by Commissioner Drum. Any further comments? Now we have a motion by Commissioner Davis to deny, second by Commissioner Drum. Please vote. Motion carries. Of course, Mr. Shane, you may appeal it. (2017-548-ZC), existing zoning, NC4 Neighborhood Institutional District. Oh, that was withdrawn. 2017-551-ZC, existing zoning, A2 Suburban District. Proposed zoning, HC2 Highway Commercial District. The parcel, 3.7 acres. The owner, Robert and Elaine Galliano. The petitioner, Robert and Elaine Galliano. The parcel is located on the southwest corner of Cosey Road and Jack Crawford Road, east of Louisiana Highway 41, Ward 6, District 6. Staff?
The 2025 future land use plan calls for the area to be developed with commercial uses. Although the site is abutting commercial and industrial zoning along the west side, staff feels there's no compelling reason to recommend approval considering the rural character of the surrounding area. Staff recommends that the request for HC2 be denied.
Thank you. Is the petitioner here? I am. Yes, ma'am. Please state your name and address for the record.
Elaine Galliano, 37341 Jack Crawford Road, Pearl River.
Reason for the petition, ma'am?
Originally, when the comprehensive rezoning took place years ago, as you can see, the property that's all surrounding this area is my property. I requested industrial, I requested a mobile home park overlay, commercial, and at the time, Ms. Becky Crawford was sitting on a council, and all of this was to be approved because back then I was going to build an equestrian center on my property, where I do live on that piece of property, and for some reason, it was changed to a residential zoning. Unaware, I didn't know that that had happened. Speaking with Ms. Crawford, I assumed everything had been zoned as I requested, because at that point, it was all at no cost. In July of 2014, I applied for a permit to build the barn, the equestrian barn for my horses. And at that time is when I found out that it was actually zoned to a residential, single-family residential, and I had to come before the board to have it put back where it originally was in order to build my barn. Since then, the barn we've used for family events. My son got married there. I actually had my husband pass away last January. His funeral service was there. Numerous family get-togethers, family reunions, other weddings of family members, and the need in the area to have a nice place to have birthday parties, any type of event. A wedding. I recently had someone in the family pass away, and they had a memorial service there. And I am asking for it to be zoned to where I can continue, I can actually use the facility that I have built for these different types of parties or events. I did some measuring today of my property, which all that property, if y'all have this piece, that's all mine. It's been in my family for, I don't know, 70, 80 years. I live on the property. The property that we own will be passed on to my children's children. I did measuring today. From where my barn is located, I'm 315 feet to industrial. I'm 307 feet to I have a feed store on that property as well. It's zoned commercial. From the piece that's on Highway 41, that's my almost 5 acres, from that is zoned commercial. I am exactly 370 feet. From this piece, what was zoned commercial, I'm 274 feet. So all the way around me, I'm in the middle of industrial, commercial. I have 10 acres I can develop into a mobile home park, which I have no intentions of doing. I'm going to probably give that to my son to build a house. But the point is, I don't understand why there's a recommendation for me to be denied this. I don't know if there's any opposition here tonight. I doubt it, because all of my neighbors there, they come to almost every event that's at the barn. So basically, I guess you can see if there's any opposition here tonight. I would, ask to be considered to let me have my zoning. In the future, what it will do for the area is bring in more tax revenue. Like I said, on that piece of property, I already have 2 businesses. There is a welding shop that's zoned industrial, and if you look over, you can see it's pretty gnarly. It's, just a bunch of steel and stuff, and that's within 400 feet of my building. So I have a very nice building, and I would just like to be considered to let me go forward with my plans of what I would like to do with my building. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there anyone else in the public who wishes to speak in favor of the proposal? Is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition? Seeing no one, I close it to the public and I bring it to the commission. Commissioner Casabon?
Yes, this is, I know the area and it is already in, with commercial. I'm going to make a motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Casabon to approve, second by Commissioner Richardson. Any further comment? Please vote. Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Plan review cases, applications requiring review and approval of site plans along a planned corridor district by the Zoning Commission are as follows. PR 16-10-002, use retail building and restaurant. The corridor, Highway 21 planned corridor overlay. Zoning, HC2 Highway Commercial District. The parcel, 9,500 square feet. The petitioner, John S. Bowers III. Owner, JSB Highway 21 Lots, LLC. Representative, G&S Engineering, LLC. The parcels located on the east side of Louisiana Highway 21, south of Azalea Drive, Ward 1, District 1. Postponed from the February 7th, 2016 meeting. Staff?
A revised site plan was submitted to you this evening, meeting most of the requirements. At this time, the petitioner is requesting a variance, item number 2, to provide a single island at the end of the parking row, which is at the corner of the proposed restaurants, which is 3,500 square feet. Staff does not have any objection to this request. And also, we have a list of requirements to confirm that the building is 100 foot from the property line. Also, to make sure that it meets all the driveway and drive-through requirements, and that it provides all the requirements for commercial. And at this time, staff would like to recommend approval.
Thank you. Is the petitioner here?
Good evening. Scott Grow, GNS Engineering, 545 Ocean Drive, Mandeville, Louisiana.
Excuse me, Scott, you can pull that microphone up to you.
I'm sorry. Scott Grow, GNS Engineering, 545 Ocean Drive, Mandeville, Louisiana.
Thank you. And the reason for the request?
It's a vacant lot that we would like to propose restaurant and retail on. So.
And am I correct, Madam Secretary and staff, that you sent out an addendum or an amendment?
Yes, the addendum is for the remainder of the plan review cases, and I passed one out to everybody.
Thank you. So in front of the commission is the addendum. The rest of the documents are consistent, correct?
Yes.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the public who wishes to speak in favor of the request? Is there anyone in the public who wishes to speak in opposition? Seeing none, I close it to the public, and I'll bring it to the commission.
Okay. I do have some confirmations that I had to do according to Helen. So
Pardon me?
I did have some things that I had to confirm.
Oh, certainly.
That the distance 100 foot from the property line, we do confirm and meet that. And regarding the location and drive-throughs, at this time for this plan, the ability to put a drive-through in is not going to work with current regulations. As you're aware, Highway 21 is under construction. So until that construction is done, we can't perform the proper traffic study that would be required to open a drive-through. So that's, it's a phased development. We'll get to that point at some point, but it's just something that we can't do now.
But the intention is, if the traffic study supports it, to do so?
Yes, sir. Oh, and there is one other issue. In item number 1, a lot of discussion about the landscaping plan. There are 2 trees on the western buffer, a 12-inch and 15-inch existing pine tree. They're sort of lone soldiers, to say the least. In our landscape plan, we provided them as 2 trees to obtain credits for. After a discussion with staff this afternoon, they would like us to request to have those 2 trees removed and replaced with the required Class A trees for the buffer so that they wouldn't be hazardous. So, and we're willing to do that.
Okay, you concur with that?
Yes, sir.
All right, for the record. Any other confirmations or any other, Helen, anything else required? No? Okay. As I said, anyone else who wishes to speak in favor? Anyone in opposition? Any further clarifications? We're good? Close it to the public and I bring it to the commission. Commissioner Lauren.
Yes, one question. Many of the businesses on 21 have interconnecting parking, whatever you want to call it. I don't know what the right
Connectivity, yes,
term
sir.
is.
Understood.
Do you propose to do that here?
Yes, sir. We have, to our west, we have a business that doesn't really lend itself well to it, but to the east, the other parcels and properties that we either own or have negotiated with that we don't own, there's one lot between us and Azalea, and there's a plan to have connectivity for this project all the way to Azalea, which is the nearest public street.
It sure helps on the track.
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Casavon?
Yes, with the statements that he has made about the future traffic study and so forth, I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Mrs. Casabon?
Yes.
Do you have any objection to the request also of removing the 2 pine trees on the
no.
south side of the
No,
property?
as per staff requirements. That one too.
So a motion by Commissioner
In the records.
Casavon to approve as amended by staff.
Correct.
Commissioner Randolph, you second. Any further comments? Please vote. Motion carries.
Thank you.
PR 15-04-003, use driveways, parking lots, and outdoor lighting for running tracks, football fields, and tennis courts. Corridor, Highway 21 Plan Corridor Overlay. Zoning, ED2 Higher Education District, the parcel 13.15 acres. The petitioner, John Pousson. The owner, Christ Episcopal Church. Liz Tarman, Senior Warden. Location, parcel located on the southeast corner of Louisiana Highway 21 in Christwood Boulevard, Ward 1, District 1, postponed from the February 7th, 2017 meeting. Staff?
The project was originally approved for the site to be developed with a running track, football field, and tennis court for the Christ Episcopal School. Petitioner is now requesting to add a new parking lot, 2 new interior driveways, and recreational field lighting around the athletic field. Staff recommends approval of this proposal, subject to the following. And I submitted this evening to you a revised plan. Number 1, we recommend approval based on the attached landscape plan. However, it would have to meet the following condition. Verify that adequate space exists between the southern buffer to be planted and the power line right-of-way to fit the proposed landscaping. Verify that adequate drainage is provided within the Highway 21 buffer to ensure that the existing buffer and the proposed landscaping can be maintained. Confirm that the existing live oak trees to be retained and those proposed to be removed shall be mitigated as per staff request. Also, recommend approval
subject to the attached as-built lighting plan, the attached driveway plan, and proposed parking configuration, that the parking number be a plan that shows the number of parking spaces and a count and the method of calculation be provided. The land clearing and the site work permit be submitted, and the additional 400-foot linear fencing, 8-foot tall, along the Natchez Trace property line. And as a standard comments, the property owner is responsible for the maintenance of the plant material, and during construction, planting or open ground area must be, all the trees must be preserved with the proper flagging. At this time, staff would like to recommend approval.
Thank you.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Jim Bradford with the law firm of Daigle, Feast & Kesenik, 227 Highway 21, Madisonville, 70447. I apologize. When I started earlier, this worked, but for some reason, we don't have a display here.
Oh, wait. Here you go. Should pop up in a second.
Okay. I just have a PowerPoint here to help ease the discussion, and actually, so when I'm referring to one of the exhibits that was submitted, you'll know what it was. Again, Jim Bradford for Christ Episcopal School. Christ Episcopal is a not-for-profit Christian school owned by Christ Episcopal Church in Covington. The property in question was purchased by the church for the school in 1995, 22 years ago. The school has been slowly expanding over time. It added a high school in 2009. What you see before you, the track complex, which was originally approved in 2015, and now the amenities that are being added to it in this proposed plan are simply further developments of that expansion of the school. The school continues to grow. What we have before you is quite simple. We have three elements: a parking element, an interior driveway element, and then recreational field lighting, which I think has gotten the most attention. Those are the three elements of the proposed plan review that's submitted before you. The site plan as submitted, and this is not the best to see, so I've got a little bit of an expansion for you, was to take the traffic and move it outside of Christwood Boulevard so that the traffic came onto the school through an interior driveway, provide parking for the athletic facilities, and then to light the field so that practices and competitions could happen during the wintertime in the evening. So that was the plan as it was originally submitted. There was a substantial amount of complaints from the community. We had meetings. As you may recall, we continued the last hearing before you so that we could have a community meeting. We met privately with some of the landowners and their lawyers. We attended the community meeting. We heard some of the concerns, and we tried to address those. So just so you can understand what we're talking about, this is a typical car line in the afternoon picking up from school. This is cars that are standing all the way down Christwood Boulevard onto Highway 21, attempting to make a right turn into Christwood Boulevard to get to Christ Episcopal. So our plan, as you can see, was to take that traffic just for car line and put it here and take it over to the school to get basically a safe condition, and then to provide that parking element. So that was the original plan. There were some concerns about that. One was the volume of traffic. Two was the alignment of the parking. Mr. Vincent Wynn and some of his clients expressed concern about having parking facing the Natchez Trace side, made a suggestion that we consider relocating the parking to face the field side. As it stands now, if you can tell from this, there's 50 feet of distance between what was originally proposed to be the parking and the Natchez Trace property line. The setback's 20 feet. There's an additional 30-foot CLECO servitude before you'd even get to the interior driveway and that parking. So we heard those concerns, and we looked at that, and we considered that concern, and we looked at it and came up with a change, and that change is in the revised site plan that was submitted to you prior to today's meeting. It was not in the original packet back from January, but part of the revised plan. And so what we did was decide that what we would do is make the traffic one way coming off of Christwood Boulevard. That would reduce both the use of the area from a traffic impact standpoint, and then we took the parking and accepted Mr. Wynn's and his client's suggestion that we orient the parking in a direction away from Natchez Trace to minimize the impact of that parking on Natchez Trace as much as possible. There have been suggestions by Natchez Trace that we put the parking elsewhere, but as we indicated at the community meeting, and some of you were in attendance, but if you weren't, that the areas to the north, there's a no-cut buffer along Christwood Boulevard that would eliminate a substantial part of that for parking. But the area additionally to the east, the sort of northeast corner of the track area is reserved for future construction, and there's actually plans for buildings there, including a gymnasium. And we certainly didn't want to put that immediately up against the property line with Natchez Trace. So what we decided to do was to put the parking in the lower elements over there. So in this new plan, we have just that parking that faces away from Natchez Trace and a one-lane road, or driveway rather, that comes around the track. Let me go back to the lighting issue, because we're going to run out of time here. The lighting that we put in is a Musco lighting. It's a properly shielded lighting. That's the actual fixture that's there. Those are photographs of the actual poles with the elements on the top. In your package, there's an engineer certification of the photometric testing. It's less than 1 foot candle at the property line, which is below the parish requirements. In fact, they could only measure 0.4. When Musco came out recently, and I'll get to that, they only measured 0.16 at the property line. But in any event, well below the 1 foot candle requirement of the parish, and that's certified. You can actually see that there in his letter, which I believe you have in your packages. And that's the actual measuring. As you can see there, at 0.4 is only a limited part. Most of the stretch is well below the 0.4 element of measurement. So that's a photograph of the actual field at night, just to put it in perspective for you. And I think what it shows is that the field is brightly lit. But it also shows that it doesn't spill a substantial lot of light beyond its boundaries. And that is the design of the Musco lighting. That being said, we told everyone at the community meeting that we had planned to have Musco's engineers come back and do what they call a fine tune, and we did have them come out. They were just here on Thursday of last week. And this was a photograph taken from the lift above the lights that are facing Natchez Trace before we did the adjustment. And what we decided to do, although it was not recommended by Musco, was to take every single fixture and give it a 5% downward adjustment. And so what we did is the lights on the north side that faced Natchez Trace were all tilted down an additional 5 degrees, which was not consistent with the engineer's design, but was just a further effort to try to alleviate some of the concerns expressed by the residents of Natchez Trace. And you can actually see the effect. You do have areas of the field that are not as well lit, and Musco, in their preference, we would light the field as well as we possibly could. That's what they do. They light fields. But they understood the concerns, and they agreed with us that this was sufficient to allow nighttime athletic activities in a safe environment. And it does decrease the amount of light that spills beyond that edge of the field, and you can actually see certain areas in the center of the field darkened as a result of that if you just look at the before and after. So we tried to do what we could to accommodate with respect to the lighting. But what we're going to do with respect to landscaping, I think, is part of the big picture here. In that area to the south of the property, we're going to put, and this revised landscape plan has been submitted to the parish, more than 3 times the required plantings in that buffer zone to try to address the concerns. If you know the property, on the other side of the fence, the developer cut down everything. I mean, there are virtually no trees on the other side of the fence, certainly none behind the houses. So effectively, there was no buffer on their side. So we're developing our property, or Christ Episcopal is developing its property and has the right to do so. We're going to address this concern by overplanting that buffer between us at 3 times the level and try to address that concern. This is essentially what we're going to do. We're going to put taller trees, intermediate trees, and understory brush in that 20-foot buffer area to create 3 levels of structure. This is an artist's rendering of what we expect it to look like, with a really thick buffer in that 20-foot zone between the 2 developments, so that we minimize the impact as much as we possibly can. With respect to what we're doing immediately, one of the concerns that had been expressed by staff in connection with the original plan for the track was that we have it properly fenced. So we put an 8-foot fence up originally, but we didn't extend it the entire length of that development. We have now done that. It was a staff recommendation. I think it's in the staff recommendations in the report that an additional 400 feet of fencing be put in. The contract for that fencing is in your packet, and I just wanted to show you the photograph. That fencing is going up as we speak and will be up within 2 weeks. So that fencing is going there. What we're trying to do is develop a full complex for the education of children, from grade school through high school. And I think Christ Episcopal does it better than anyone else. We heard the concerns of Natchez Trace. We want to be good neighbors with them, and we're going to do all we can to be good neighbors with them. We think our lighting meets all parish requirements, certainly the foot candle requirement. There's been some statements about glare. There's not an excessive amount of glare that leaves the property of Christ Episcopal School. It is bright. It's athletic lighting. But the glare element is certainly not a concern. If you look at the definition of glare, it's glare that it's blinding. And certainly no one can contend that the lights at Christ Episcopal School are blinding. So we believe that we're in compliance with all of the parish requirements. I think staff has investigated our lighting and found it to be in compliance, and we'd ask that our plan be approved so that we can move forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone in opposition?
Good evening, Tom Snyder, counsel for Natchez Trace Property Owners Association, 222 North Vermont, Covington, Louisiana. What I'd like to do is I'm going to speak on the issue of the lighting. I was asked by the president to address that issue, reserving some time to allow individual property owners to step up and speak as to the issues impacting them. In April 2015, planning took up a proposal, and I'm going to read from it because it's important, regarding the running track, football field, and tennis court. The staff recommended approval at that time, this is March 30th, 2015, subject to all applicable regulations and the following conditions. And I'll point the commission to number 10, to provide an exterior lighting plan, so all exterior lighting shall be shaded or inwardly directed in such a manner so that no direct lighting or glare is cast beyond the property line. The intensity of such lighting shall not exceed 1 foot candle as measured at the abutting property line. The issue then, as it is now, and you've heard it tonight, is the glare. The president has confirmed to me that he has measured it himself, and they are within the 1 foot candle requirement. The problem is glare. What Natchez Trace wants, and what the recommendation was that any glare be contained and not be allowed to move across the property line. You fast forward to 2017, we have a plan review staff report dated 1/31/17, and what this now says, now being requested, is recreational field lighting around the athletic field. Recommendations: considering that the lighting has already been installed, now they're requesting an as-built plan to confirm that the field lighting meets the parish requirements and the attached photometrics. So it appears what we're dealing with is act first, ask for permission later, but they're not even asking for permission. This is essentially seeking to circumvent the original conditions imposed by the planning staff. As regards the actual regulations, putting aside the nonconformity with the original conditions, and I'll go through these as quickly as I can, Section 7.0301 of the lighting regulations, intended to eliminate problems of glare, minimize light trespass to keep unnecessary direct light from shining onto abutting properties or streets. 7.0302B1C requires a photometric survey to show angle of light cut off. The assemblies, and we saw a picture, and what I've been told is that they appear to be shielded only on the top and that not on any of the sides facing Natchez Trace. So the effect that we have, and these are the photos that were provided to me by the president in terms of glare, this is what we have. 7.0303B2 requires lenses to be fully shielded or full cutoff type fixtures with a single pane lens. I'm not sure because I haven't seen the report. I'm aware there was a submission today. I don't know that anybody at Natchez Trace has seen the report, whether they comply with that. 7.0302 7.0306, I'm sorry, 7.0308B, dealing specifically with recreational field lighting, requires that it shall comply with the lighting requirements as defined in Section 7.03 and use fixtures that are fully shielded or designed or have a sharp cutoff capability so as to minimize spill light and glare. Now, the statement that, the glare is not a big problem here. It is for the residents of Natchez Trace, and they're going to speak to that issue. The problem remains glare. Had we had a lighting plan requested in 2015, if it exists, we'd like to see it. We don't think it exists. We don't think it was done. Had it been performed at that time and discussed, we might not be here tonight. In sum, we believe that lighting plan would prohibit glare beyond the property line. It can be done, it should have been done, and that's what needs to be done in this case. To the extent the school is not in compliance with parish regulations on the grounds stated, then what we are dealing with is a nuisance under the nuisance ordinance, in that it endangers the health and safety and well-being of the residents, it interferes with private streets, and it depreciates the value of private property. And therefore, we ask that the use permit be denied until compliance with original conditions are satisfied, and until then, these stadium's lights will impose a serious nuisance to Natchez Trace residents. And on that note, I'll turn it over to anyone who wants to speak on their individual behalf as to the effects.
Thank you. Please come to the podium, state your name and address for the record, sir.
Beginning to become a regular fixture here. Anyway, the name is Gerard Hansen. I'm a retired judge from New Orleans. I live at Grand Turk Court, and I am one of the properties that's directly affected by the lighting. Now, I have to say that Mr. Bradford was kind enough to come to my house last week as they attempted to adjust the lighting to see the glare. Now, for him to say there's not sufficient glare, I think he was sort of shocked when he saw that my bedroom was lit up as if it was daytime, even though we had lights out. And also in my living room, the same thing. The pictures you were just seeing is the glare that we see every night the lights are on. It does affect my tranquility and the peace of my home and my use of my home. Secondly, I raised one other point. You only see a few of our residents here, but we were concerned enough that the association board actually hired a lawyer to represent the other 200 residents that's in Natchez Trace. I, myself, and 2 contractors hired Mr. Wynn to represent us because we are concerned enough to know that this is depreciating our values. Where there's a home for sale on our block, and two of the potential buyers walked away when they saw the lights and said they didn't want to live by those lights. So we know already that our property values are being depreciated. If you do this through the whole subdivision, you're depreciating a tax base of over $1 million a year. Anyway, the last thing I'd like to mention is that Christwood Episcopal did, in fact, put the lights up and started grading the road before they came before this commission. Now they're saying, okay, Mayor Cooper, we're sorry, give us permission. I don't think you should reward someone who's violated the rules. As a judge, I wouldn't have rewarded them. And so I suggest to you that we deny this petition. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak in opposition? Yes, ma'am.
Dana Calloway, 950 Grand Turk Court. I also get some glare. They've already addressed the glare. I'd like to address the road. If they get this okayed, yeah, it helps them. They have a carpool. The carpool will be directly behind my house. We will have people with their cars running. I will have to smell exhaust. They'll have a parking lot there where any noise or anything going on affects my living. I cannot use my backyard if they're having events at night because the glare is out there. I can't have my friends out, have a cup of coffee on my back porch that I screened in for my usage. I also cannot have anything during the day when the carpool's there. You know what happens in carpools. People have their radio on, they have their engines running, so I will have that noise, and it will affect my lifestyle. My lifestyle has changed since they will change drastically if you okay this. I will no longer be able to have my peace and quiet. They will have what they need. They'll have their parking, but it will affect my life. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak in opposition? Yes, sir.
Name is Tom Wright, live on Natchez Trace. So I've been here to a few of the proceedings following this particular issue over the course of the last 65, 70 days. And in the very first session that I sat in, as I was monitoring the dialogue being exchanged and trying to understand how to connect the dots of how this particular project even got to the point it did, I remember specifically hearing staff make a comment that most of this was pushed through under an electrical permit. Is that correct? So my point is, how does one obtain an electrical permit to provide construction services of an athletic field that includes the building of improved property, case in point, buildings, concession stands? Okay, electrical permitting under my understanding has to do with electrical work only. As a matter of fact, if you are issued a building permit, you have to provide a licensed electrician and a plumber to provide those two particular services under a construction permit. So how do you get an electrical permit issued to build the other permanent fixtures? Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Who here this evening, by show of hands, is in opposition to this? Thank you. Needless to say, again, from the show of hands, it gives us a feeling of the magnitude. We're going to go to 5 minutes for rebuttal.
Thank you, Chairman. Just quickly, I want to introduce the headmaster of the school, Mr. John Morvant is here. Mr. Steve Croxton, the chairman of the Board of Trustees of the school, is here, and several of the board members of the school are here as well. With respect to the points that were made, I want to address them specifically. In 2015, when the plan was submitted, the school didn't have any money for the lights at that time, and therefore they did not submit as part of their plan a lighting plan. Had they wanted lights and had they wanted to erect them, they were required to do so as part of the plan review process, and that was indicated in 2015 approval. They did not at that time have the funds, and therefore they were not submitted. A lot of details required for that, of course, and if you don't have the money, you don't even know what you're going to put up, so none of it was submitted. With respect to what happened, the school wrongfully believed, and it was their mistake, it was honest, that the plan review that they had approved allowed them to put the lights up. They didn't hide the fact, as was pointed out by numerous people here. They came to the parish and actually got a construction permit, including an electrical permit. They told everyone they were doing it. What they didn't do is come to this august body and ask for plan review of that lighting plan, and for that we apologize. The school does not have a general counsel, does not have an engineering department. They wrongfully believed that they had the approval, and when they did not. So subsequently, as soon as they became aware of it, they promptly filed a plan and asked for this body to approve it. They engaged me to help to make certain that it went through correctly and to give them some counsel on future parts of their plan when they come before you to make certain that they observe the parish rules. And we apologize for those errors, and the school promises you that it will comply with all the plan review requirements going forward. So that kind of addresses that concern. With respect to the interior driveway, first of all, the school's putting an 8-foot opaque fence up. It's already put most of it up. They're putting another 400 feet. They're putting in a 20-foot of overfilled buffer, 3 times what's required by parish ordinances to provide a buffer. Beyond that is another 30-foot of CLECO servitude before this interior driveway is even going to appear. Beyond that is where the parking will be, beyond that interior drive. So 62 feet from the property line is where the parking will be. So I think what I'm trying to point out is that the school is doing what it can to be a very good neighbor here. The requirement for the setback is only 20 feet. And so this is 62 feet away with an 8-foot opaque fence and a lot of landscaping buffer in between. And we think that that's adequate to be a good neighbor, particularly for a neighbor who has no buffer on their side of their fence. But that being said, I think that that adequately addresses those concerns. With respect to the claims of glare, as measured by engineers, it's less than 1 foot candle at the property line. There is not spilled light, and notwithstanding that, we still had Musco come out and reduce the impact of lighting by 5 degrees more on all of the lights that face that direction. Even to the detriment, as you saw in the photograph, of some of the quality of the lighting on the field, but we had our people look at it and they found it's acceptable and safe enough. So, to suggest that Christ does not want to be a good neighbor and is somehow sneaking around and trying to get things pulled in or approved without proper authority is just simply not true. There was a mistake. It was an honest mistake, and we promise we won't make it again. If there are any particular questions, I think I finished my presentation. We'd ask for the plan review to be approved so we can move forward with our plan.
Thank you, sir.
Final comment, we accept all of the staff recommendations set forth in the staff report, and we'll agree to comply with all of those as set forth by Helen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This time, opposition, 5 minutes to rebut. Any further comments? Yes, ma'am. No. If you wish to speak, come to the podium, state your name and address. You can pull the microphone down.
My name is Andre Lobsher, and I live at 689 Milliken's Bend. And I'm hearing the attorney speak that he wants to be a good neighbor. And I've heard him say that before because in 2015, I was on the board, and I was
on the board, the homeowners
the board of Natchez Trace.
Thank you.
And I met with Christwood and their officials, and they explained to us what their plan was. But they didn't explain about the lighting. There was a lot left out. But what they said, the reason why what I really want to say is that I keep on hearing them say they want to be good neighbors. But if they were a good neighbor, why didn't they explain this to us? It's been 2 years. Why didn't they come to us and say, this is our proposed plan? They only want to be a good neighbor after the fact. So what I'm saying is that they really haven't shared with us their plans. And their plans, I don't even live on that last street. I live in the interior. But when you go down Natchez Trace and you look up and you see these big poles and you see all the construction that they have built right that abuts the Natchez Trace, it's very, very unsightly. And I'm hoping that you will deny his request. Really on the basis, too, that they were not open with us, and they evidently, from what I understand, were not open with you all about their plans. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak in opposition for rebuttal? Yes, ma'am. Ma'am.
Good evening. My name is Rosalie Bellum, and I live at 913 Grand Turk Court. I sent registered certified letters to every member of this commission, and I have a receipt all for 2 people that didn't get the letter. In the letter, it states basically what everyone is saying here tonight. You're talking about the lighting, the glare, you're talking about the road, you're talking about the private spaces that they want to do. There is an alternative plan for you to approve instead of doing this. So to deny their request for the lighting, for the parking lot, for the roadway, there are alternative plans that you can do. And I hope that you read the letter, because it would have taken me longer than 2 minutes or 5 minutes to tell you everything that was in there. It was planned to discuss it with you on the 7th, but then we had a meeting with the school, and now we're here tonight for the same thing. So we only ask you to abide by what you have set as your ordinance, your guide, and to do that for us who are their neighbors who live right next door. Things that have been said tonight have not been followed through. If you look at the original site plan, there was a no buffer cut zone, and now we're saying that we're going to put more plants and more trees in that. Well, that wasn't supposed to be cut down originally. Christwood Boulevard has a no buffer cut zone, so we don't want to touch those, but it's okay to do the ones on our side. Talking about to eliminate the traffic, you can go to any school in St. Tammany Parish when school is letting out, and there is going to be a traffic jam. There is an alternative way for them to do a roadway and a parking, and in the letter, I stated the person that I talked with from Christwood Community, and there is alternative things that can be done with that. And as far as the lighting goes, yes, it is a concern. So I think everybody here is in agreement with take them down. And I think one of your commissioners said that the very first night, take them down, because you're not following the guidelines that you set. And if there are other plans for the school, none of that has been mentioned, but we're saving some space. And from visits that I went to your offices, they told me that you have to submit a plan structure first. And in my comments to you, I said, no, you don't have the money available, but if you do, you have to make sure that you plan everything accordingly, so in the future, you can use the site for as much possible as you can. And like everyone here is saying, that property values are going down. There's someone here that represents a realtor, and she was going to discuss that with you. What Judge Hanson said about the 2 neighbors down the street, that is correct to do that. So you have to do what you're supposed to do as a commission to do that, and the people that work for the Planning Commission to do that. So we would request that you deny their proposal entirely, to kind of like do that, so that we all can be good neighbors. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. This time, we're going to close it to the public. She did address a point, though, that out of transparency, we did receive some letters, the commissioners did, certified mail. The reason we could actually read those is because this case was heard prior. However, there were instances in the past where communications were made to the commission before there was any public hearing. The commissioners have been educated and advised we ignore those. We're not permitted to read or to take any positions other than from elected officials until it goes to a public hearing. The reason, again, we were able to receive any information subsequently is because there was already a public hearing, which afforded that to occur. I just wanted to make that point. Again, at this time, we close it to the public and we bring it to the commission. Commissioner Casabon.
We are in a position here that we don't like being in, because this is 2 entities of our parish that is, to me, very precious to us. Our Christ Episcopal has been part of my family. My niece went there from the, 1st grade on. But we're in a situation here where, right or wrong, whether things the lighting follows our lighting regs and that sort of thing, what we have here is an actual document that, as the lawyer read, that states that they were to provide to the parish an exterior lighting plan. So all exterior lighting shall be shaded or inwardly directed in such a manner so that no direct lighting shall glare or cast upon a property line. I think this is where the issue, whether you got the permit, how you got the permit, I don't think this was, Helen, am I incorrect, was a plan presented to the parish concerning the property line, the glare, and so on.
Yes, ma'am.
This is 2000, this is, I'm sorry, this was the Plan Review Staff Report from April 7th, 2015. Did we receive at any point in time a report that this board would have seen that would explain what would happen when they put these particular lights up? I still believe that there's some other kind of lighting that would not be as intrusive, but this board is having to deal with something, but did the staff receive anything like that?
In April 2015 or before, the staff never received a lighting plan. If it is your
But even after that, they said, on this particular one, no, we're not putting lighting in at this time. Okay, and the board, that present board was under the impression that, okay, when they get ready to put the lights in, there will be something presented to the staff indicating that there wouldn't be the glare over the property line. Did we receive anything like that?
We have it in our possession at this moment. It's attached to your packet. But when the lights were put up physically, I did not have in my possession in my office a copy of the photometrics.
Okay.
It was submitted, however, when they applied for the electrical permit.
But did this board get to review it, is what I'm saying. I understand that you may have gotten what we needed for the staff, but we're put in a position here now to make a decision, and we didn't see what it said about the glare and so on. That's just how I feel about it.
You may have not seen in the past. However, as you can see, as it is attached to your packet, and as it's confirmed in the staff report, is that as-built lighting plan has been submitted and it meets the parish requirements.
It might meet the parish requirements under that, but did the parish go out and we checked to see if there was glare? It's just, I just feel like we're in a position that it's a technicality, that they meet a requirement that's not physically there with the glare still going over.
I think to clarify, counsel for Christ Episcopal, I believe stated in 2015, they submitted a plan in front of this commission, at which time lights were not installed. Mm-hmm. They, however, believed erroneously that approval was granted to construct. Now, what's in front of us now, I think, is very different than what Commissioner Casabon may be alluding to, that a plan prior to construction did not come before the commission to say this is what we are going to construct as far as lighting. What is in front of us now as built, meaning it's already built, and now we're going to review it. Is that correct?
It was not submitted to the commission before the lights was
Prior
put
to
up.
the building of the lights.
Correct.
It's post, which is why we're here today.
It was part of the it has, the lighting has to meet the parish lighting requirements.
Correct, but it didn't afford us to have a public hearing to address potential concerns from the lights, as well as addressing issues as to glare exceeding the property lines and anything else that a public hearing affords the public to express their concerns prior to something being constructed.
Since it was brought up to our attention and they came forward with the new parking lot and the driveways, it, gave us the opportunity to determine or to request documents to confirm if the lighting would meet the requirements or not.
Right. To the council for Natchez Trace, the community meeting, did that afford some compromise for Natchez Trace as discussed? I think particularly the buffer, maybe the roadway, and again, the fine tuning of the light direction.
So I met with the president actually this past Friday for the very first time when I was contacted about the issue, and my instructions were limited to the lighting issues. I would defer to a couple of the board members that are here who could probably answer that question.
He wasn't here.
He wasn't.
Could you come to the microphone, Your Honor?
There was some discussion with the school through Mr. Bradford and members of their board about the parking and other changing certain direction of the parking, et cetera. From what I see now and what they're planning, I don't see how it makes a difference, because if you're doing what they plan to do, it's still going to depreciate the property. And that's what we're here for. How can you negotiate a depreciation of your property? You just can't. As far as the lights go, the glare is the issue. And no one, except for Mr. Bradford, has been kind enough to come to my house or any house along that fence to see the glare. I don't care what the report says, it's the reality of it. The reality is that the glare is so great that it disturbs the comfort of your home. And I think Mr. Bradford would agree that he did see glare. I mean, when he came to my home. And they tried to adjust those lights, but there are certain lights they can't adjust, because they adjust them, then they're going to take the light off the field. So instead of taking the light off the field, they'd rather keep the glare. So that's one of the issues. But we have not been able to reach a compromise where we can work something out. I think if Christ would delay the whole program, and there's more property they're going to be acquiring, and they don't need this today. I'd like to mention one more thing I didn't mention before. The roadway that goes around the track and around the field, it's very close to the track. It might be 20 feet away or so. But that is such a danger to kids playing on that field. You bring a car in there while kids are playing, anyone can lose control. You saw recently in New Orleans, of course the guy was drinking, but you saw a car go out of control in New Orleans and knock down 28 people, We worried about the health, we worried really about the safety of those children also. I think that has to be refigured also. I think Christwood should go back to the drawing board and then sit down and see what other plan they can bring to us, because they have additional property, and they will have more property later on. They just they don't need it right now. They don't have a football team. They don't have anything that says it has to happen today. It can be delayed long enough to see what they'll do with the property they're going to acquire. Okay? Can I answer any other questions for you while I'm here?
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I'd like to ask him, excuse me, Judge, over here.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
Don't mind me, I have cataracts, I can't see. Go ahead.
They did make an attempt to adjust it. Did you find any noticeable reduction?
Not with the lights that are causing the glare. They came out, and why I know they were there, because I went out to the field with my wife, and we met Mr. Bradford, and we met the people that were trying to adjust the lights. And when he got to those standards where the glare is the greatest, the ones facing the homes in Natchez Trace, I saw no change. They tried to adjust them, and they acknowledged that they didn't make an effort. But I think the comment I heard was that, well, we can't adjust them too much because it would affect the light on the field. But it doesn't affect the glare in my eyes, you know. And this picture you saw of that glare is actual reality. I got that on my camera too. You know, it's what we actually see every night. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you. And in all due respect, Judge, I would say Christwood does have a tremendous concern for the safety of their children. They have an excellent reputation, but whatever they're doing, I'm not going to argue with you, Judge, in all due respect.
I like to make something.
Just for the record,
Yes.
they have an immense concern for the safety of their children.
Well, let me make something clear. We have all the respect in the world for Christwood, okay? It's episcopal. I think the school's done a great job. I think they're trying to look to the future, and the future is that they want to enlarge and become a high school and be competitive with other schools. And then when you do that, you got to have athletics and all that. We understand that. We have no problem with the field being there, the track being there. I'm concerned about the roadway because I think something could happen, and I'm not saying they might not see a vision of that, but I've been around long enough to know things do happen. And I would love to have them keep the track and the field as a daytime activity and turn the damn lights out. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Fitzmaurice.
I have a question for Helen. Had they filed the lighting plan prior to constructing the lights, would it have been approved by the parish? Just the plan?
If it would have met requirements.
But you've seen it now, right? And it does meet the parish standards?
Yes, it does.
Okay, that's my question. All right.
Commissioner Casabon.
Except for our statement of the glare. You know, does our requirements, you know, I guess what I'm saying is I feel like that our ordinance and lighting ordinance needs to be reviewed for the closeness to, you know, certain areas and stuff. I've just been to Coquille. That is an athletic facility. And their particular lights, I just would like to know if there's other lights that would not cast the glare that these do, even though they meet our requirements and stuff. Like I said, I'm torn between, I just feel like that I cannot approve something that is still, I would like to say the health and welfare of neighbors next door. And I think this is, it might not be the traffic thing, but the lights, to me, do impede the neighbors.
Thank you. Commissioner Warren.
Thank you. I share Martha's concerns deeply. I live in the area. I know people on both sides of the aisle in this case. We've got two of the premier groups, settlements, organizations, whatever you want to call them. One is a subdivision, one is a school. They're both at the top of the ladder, and they happen to be across the fence from one another. And the thing that caused the problem that we're in a position to deal with today is that through error, which they've admitted, Christwood thought they had received permission to do this back when they got the original approval. But clearly, if you go back and look at the tapes of that meeting, the gentleman said that night, there are no plans to build any lighting at this time. That's almost a direct quote. Subsequent to that, erroneously thinking that the school had received permission, they got permits and they built the lights. And now we're up here in the middle trying to be the judge. It's almost like the biblical dividing the baby in two. I mean, what do? What's right? And I guess the thing that we're stuck with as a commission is we're required to do what parish ordinances require. And I would ask Helen, if everything is done, lighting in place as adjusted, parking lot changed around and reconfigured, fence reconstructed, buffer zone put in place, will everything be in accordance with the requirements of the parish?
Yes, Mr. Lauren, correct.
Okay. So now we're in a position of saying that if we don't approve it, we're saying that we're smarter than the parish ordinances. On the contrary, on the other side of the coin, you all have the right now I'm talking about from Natchez Trace, you all have the legal right to appeal that, whatever decision we make, to the parish council. All you have to do is come fill out the card and you can appeal that decision. But I don't see where we have a choice if, in fact, Christwood has met the requirements, for us to sit back and say, that's not good enough. You've met the requirements, not you got to do better. Okay? I hope you understand the position that we're in. I don't like it. I'm not comfortable with it. But that's a position that we're in.
Commissioner Dougherty.
Yes, sir. Thanks, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Bradford, I believe I heard you say that the light at the property lines met the parish code, and so and what that's measuring is foot candles. It doesn't have anything at all to do with glare.
That's correct. It's measuring foot candles of light at the perimeter of the property,
Right.
which is a 1 foot candle requirement. The measurement is 0.4 at the greatest area. So it's,
But also in that same ordinance, it deals with glare.
that's correct.
Okay? There are fixtures out there, and even the fixtures that are installed could possibly be modified to cut some of the glare going over the property line. Now, I'm not a lighting engineer, I'm not a manufacturer's rep, but I know that there's a solution out there. Another solution is to take the poles that are causing the problem and put it on the same side and light towards the school and away from the resident. Is that a solution? I don't know.
No, sir.
That's something that y'all would have to work out.
Well, let me address that. It would not be a solution because it's an athletic field. If you have lighting from one side, then you have shadow on one side. And the balls...
Not if they have the proper distribution and the proper aiming, it would light the whole field, okay?
Well,
Now, you might be being told one thing, but it can be done.
Well,
I've seen it done in other places.
Well, our engineers do not agree with that statement
Okay.
that you just
And
made.
that's fine, that's fine. That's what they get paid the big bucks for.
Absolutely. With respect to glare, it's defined in the parish ordinance. It's light emitting from a luminaire with intensity great enough to reduce a viewer's ability to see, and in extreme cases, causing momentary blindness. That condition does not exist in Natchez Trace. The lights are bright, there is no doubt about that, but they comply with the parish ordinances, and they do not blind people in Natchez Trace. I have been over there. A number of residents have invited me over there, have graciously allowed me into their homes, and I've gone. Yes, they are
Let me stop
bright.
you right there, because if this were a commercial store going in, I can assure you that they would have to do something with the lighting to stop the glare, okay? And that's basically what I'm suggesting, is there's still a way those lights can be tweaked to reduce the glare going into Natchez Trace.
And we've had Musco out and done precisely that by reducing the angle of approach by 5 degrees.
But you probably need some additional shielding on the side towards Natchez Trace.
If you tilt and put additional shielding, you just create even more shadow on the field, as demonstrated in the photographs. We've done what we can, and I think that has been effective, as shown in those photographs that we showed you. And I stood at the Natchez Trace side and looked at it after they made the adjustments, and I thought it was effective. But the bottom line is the field needs to be lit, and it needs to be safe to play at night, and it needs to have the proper amount of foot candles on it. And the engineers at Musco thought this was what we could do. And while they didn't like it, they would prefer to see it brighter. They found it acceptable, but they didn't want it more than that.
Sure they would. I mean, they're going to get, at some point in time, somebody's going to mention Christwood, and you really didn't do a good job, but it wasn't them that made the decision to angle them down. It was at the request of Christwood.
That's correct. It was at the request of Christ Episcopal School that they be angled down further.
If you look at the lights up and down a street, okay, you're going to see some lights where you have an extreme amount of glare, and it's more of a nuisance, okay? And I think that's where I'm coming from. It's a nuisance. Now, there are other light fixtures out there for roadway lighting that are what they call cutoff. You don't see the light until you get right under it, and there's no glare. So there's a lot of solutions yet, I think, needs to be looked at. Thank you.
Commissioner Davis.
Yeah, yes. Jim, how are you?
Fine. How are you doing?
Good.
Commissioner Davis.
Good. The judge said that you visited his house?
I did.
And you were inside his home?
I was.
With the lights on on the field?
That's correct.
What do you think?
I think that it's not unacceptable. I think that anyone that had a dark field adjacent to their house, and now you have athletic lighting on it, it looks different. But different isn't necessarily bad. There's a recreational lighting statute and ordinance of this parish, and what we have installed at Christ Episcopal School complies. Now, I'm certain they would prefer there be no lights. Christ Episcopal would prefer that there be trees on their side of the fence. But the reality is what Christ Episcopal has done, although they followed the wrong procedure, and we apologize for that, what we have done now complies with parish ordinances. And it, in our opinion, is acceptable because it is in compliance with the parish lighting ordinance. And so for that reason, we request that the plan be approved. I mean, that's where we stand.
Yeah, I think as commissioners here, and of course we all should hopefully know code and such, if this was presented to us in 2015 with the same plan that we just recently received, would we even be here for any reason? I think we would have approved it, just like we approved the rest of the plan. So I make a motion to approve according to all the statutes and all regulations of the St. Tammany Parish Code.
Motion by Commissioner Davis to approve. Commissioner Drum?
Sir, forgot his name. Mr. Bradford.
Yes, sir.
Sorry to have you walk away and come back.
My pleasure.
If I remembered the little show you gave us.
Yes, sir.
These lights have like a cap on it,
They
right?
do. They have a shield.
They have a shield, but that just shields the top of the bulb, right?
No, it extends over the lighting fixture.
Does it extend down to the sides?
It does. There's shielding on the side, too.
How far?
Well, I could show you the photograph, but I'd pull it back up. There's a photograph in your packet of the actual fixture.
I don't have that.
Okay, I apologize.
That's all right.
Well, in any event, yeah, I mean, they're shielded in accordance with the parish ordinances, and when we tilted them over 5%, that shielding was even more effective at reducing the impact to Natchez Trace.
Well,
yes, so there's a side shield and a head shield.
Okay, I think in terms of collateral damage,
Yes, sir.
Okay. It's acceptable to kill people, but it's not acceptable when you have an opportunity not to kill them. And what I'm thinking is, here you have an opportunity not to have the glare by putting a shield that covers the basic light, and then let's say the light comes out of this instead of just the top and shines down. I'm trying to make a statement that the light can be aimed to the field rather than have it diffused to the field.
Well, there's certainly something that can be done, and that has been done. When you try to narrow the focus of any light, you wind up with areas of darkness. And what we tried to do was to minimize the impact to Natchez Trace by canting them beyond what the engineers wanted, an additional 5 degrees, to limit the impact to Natchez Trace. That's what we did to try to address some of their concerns. But in order to, if you completely shielded a light like you would for a parking lot light that downlights, the field would be unplayable. There wouldn't be enough light on the field to play at night. And at some point, you know, the point of it to light the field is so that athletics can occur on that field.
Yeah, well, you know, baseball fields, football fields, they have light that lights the field, but yet they don't have all the people around them receiving the glare because they're shielded all the way around and the light goes down towards the field. This just from a previous statement where something can be done rather than just have it, you know, you aim the light down, now you got the light going down instead of out, and it's still going to bounce off of something, you know. And if it was your house that was having the glare go into it, would you be happy with it?
In my opinion, the glare is not excessive, but that's my opinion, okay? But what I do know is that it complies with the parish ordinance. We don't believe it's excessive. It's certainly not blinding. And the parish has reviewed it. They've been very circumspect in their review, and they think it meets the parish ordinance. Thank you, sir.
Commissioner Fitzmaurice.
I'm going to second the motion. I believe that they are in compliance with parish code and all the ordinance.
Commissioner Fitzmaurice second the motion to approve. Are there any other comments? What it sounds like is, again, in 2015 or subsequent to 2015, by the admission of the attorneys for Christ Episcopal, they did not come back before this commission and submit the plan. Therefore, it didn't afford us the opportunity to question it, nor the public at that time to question it. Subsequently to that, however, and based on what we know about all the documents submitted, they submitted the documents appropriately, transparently, and then they came back to approve as built, and we have more information, specifically the glare that comes off of this. But short of that, everything else is pretty much consistent. So the question remains to Commissioner Lawrence, we have ordinances to follow. That's true, but at the same time, there's procedure to follow, and that was not by their own admission. It was not. Subsequent to that, though you are correct, the ordinances were followed. With that being stated, any further comments by the commission? If not, we have a motion by Commissioner Davis to approve, second by Commissioner Fitzmaurice. Please vote. Motion carries. Needless to say, the opposition has the right to appeal to the council. PR 17-02-001, use retail buildings and convenience store, corridor, Highway 21 plan, corridor overlay. Zoning HC2, parcel 2.82 acres. The petitioner Scott A. Ritter, owner Diaz Realty Investments Incorporated. Parcel is located in the southwest corner of Greenbrier Boulevard and Highway 21, Ward 1, District 1. Staff.
Petitioner is proposing convenience store, gas station, and retail center. A site and landscape plan has been submitted as provided, meeting most of the requirements. In front of you this evening, you have a revised plan that we just distributed. We're happy to say that we have been working with the architect as well as the engineer to make sure that most of the requirements are met. And if you can see on the revised plan, the canopy is now 96.35 feet on one side and 98.98 feet on the other side. So basically, the petitioner is requesting a variance of more or less between 2 and 5 feet of the required setback along Highway 21, which requires that all buildings and accessory buildings be located 100 feet from the property line. Also, they're requesting to remove 1 live oak trees and proposing to mitigate on site. It is indicated on the site, on the landscape plan, and also a variance of providing just 1 Class A tree at the northeast corner of the convenience store. And basically, it's just to allow to provide more room for the tree to grow. And at this time, staff would like to recommend approval according to the comments that are listed on the staff report.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Commissioners, for the time tonight. And Helen, thank you for placing me second to last on the agenda. I appreciate it. I'll try to be brief. We are proposing a commercial development for about 11...
Excuse me, would you state your name and address?
I'm sorry, my name is... It's been a long night. My name is Scott Ritter, Mayor Architects, 2987 Government Street, Baton Rouge, Louisiana. All right, so we're putting together a site plan for your approval tonight for a proposed commercial development, 11,000 square feet of retail space with a upscale convenience store gas station out parcel on the front. We have met all requirements set forth by the parish with respect to the overlay district along Highway 21, as well as the additional staff recommendations that were put forward. We have the one exception of the accessory buildings are required to be a minimum of 100 feet from the property line. Our initial site plan had the canopy structure over the gas station, which is, just every gas station has it. It's considered accessory. That was actually a good 30 feet into that 100-foot setback. So for the last few days, we've kind of squeezed and pushed and pulled, and we've got down to the bare minimum of clearances that we need for traffic and that the parish requires for parking and roads, and we're just a hair over the line there. So we're asking for your permission to impede that 100-foot setback by no more than 5 feet. I think would be safe to say moving forward here. And just point of information, there's 3 other gas stations that are on 21 within a mile and a half or so of our site, and they may be prior to the overlay, I'm not sure, but they are well within 100 feet. They're 60, 70 tops from the property line. So just, we're kind of, certainly have done no more harm than those have. But outside of that, we feel like we've got a great development coming y'all's way, so.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the public who wishes to speak in favor of the request? Is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition? Yes, sir. Please state your name and address for the record.
I'm Alan Trifley Sr. I live at 134 Normandy Oaks Boulevard. I got to say, I'll look at this layout, and I'm going to refer to sketch C1 and if you can follow along with me. I'm confused when I look at this. I just want to lay out where this parcel is located. If you look on the right-hand side of the page, that is Highway 21. That's a 4-lane highway, 2 lanes in each direction. Greenbrier, at the top of the page, it says existing bank driveway. That's not existing bank driveway. That's Greenbrier Boulevard. It's a two-way, it's a two-way street with a medium in between them. I just want to mention that 21, what happens is that there's no U-turn there on 21. So I live on Normandy Oaks, and I just want to paint the picture for you. Greenbrier turns into Normandy Oaks. Normandy Oaks opens up to about 360 homes back there. On Highway 21, we have no stoplight there, okay? So we have one-way traffic going in, and you have Highway 21 that people cannot make a U-turn, so they turn on Greenbrier to come through and actually make the U-turn to come back to 21. It's just some concerns that I have. I see no recollection of any type of traffic study. I don't know if that's been done or not, but traffic, I think it's really needed a traffic study on this. I say I'm confused. I look at this. This is 16 pumps. 16 pumps. That's more than any gas station, I mean, more than I know Sam's has, and that's a pretty big operation. I'm confused. Is this a retail or is this a racetrack type setup? Okay? I want to make sure you understand that Greenbrier is not a major thoroughfare. It's not a through street. Okay? It's not designed to carry a lot of traffic on it. There are seeking variances. I mean, I look at this, and I couldn't fit another parking place in this plot if I tried to. I also want to mention to you that there's a 50-foot no-cut zone in the front, and then a 30-foot towards the top of the page, okay? 50 foot on Highway 21, and on Greenbrier, it's 30 feet. Well, he's got a problem, okay? He's got a retention pond he's got to worry about. And, you know, I'm looking at the placement of the retention pond. Why isn't a retention pond? I mean, I just look at it, and it's like, what can be jammed in here? And that's just a concern of mine. I mentioned 16 pumps. I don't know how many nozzles that is. Okay, I don't know if each one's going to have 4 nozzles on each pump. Okay, I really don't know. I don't know. And then again, I don't know anything about the hours of operations, if that's going to be a 24-hour operation or what the plans are. But it's a major concern. And I think I have expressed all my thoughts. Just let me look at my notes real quick, please. Like the gentleman said, he is requesting variances, okay? He is requesting variances. He also states that there's 3 gas stations within 60 seconds of this gas station. And do we really need 16 more pumps on Highway 21? I mean, I don't think we can support I'm going to use it, quote, racetrack type operation in this particular area. It's just not set up for it. If it was a major thoroughfare intersection, I could see it. But 16 pumps is a lot. and I just want to make sure my concerns are heard. And I thank you very much, and thank y'all for being here.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak in opposition? Seeing none at this time, you have 5 minutes to rebut.
Okay, I'll try to hit on a few of the items. It's 8 pumps, 16 nozzles. So that's the max you're allowed to have. We can't exceed that number along that overlay. Eddie Powell, my civil engineer, is here from Kyle & Associates. I might ask him to come up and speak with respect to the retention and trees, just real quickly.
Hi, good evening. Eddie Powell with Kyle Associates, 638 Village Lane, North Mandeville. As it relates to the drainage, we did provide a full drainage report, was reviewed and approved by the engineering department. The detention pond that is being put in the 30-foot landscape buffer did require the removal of a few trees, no specimen trees or anything like that, but we still met the code. We had plenty enough credits within the buffer. We worked with Helen's office to make sure that still met the code. We've left everything along the 50-foot buffer along the front. As far as the traffic is concerned, we did actually do a sort of quasi-traffic study at the request of the parish to justify the median cut into Green, that we're proposing a median cut at the driveway that we're tying into on Greenbrier. That lines up with the existing bank driveway, as the gentleman referred to on the C1 drawing that y'all have. That's the actual Capital One bank driveway that we're lining our driveway up to. And we're proposing a median cut and have showed that there's no impact to the traffic by allowing that cut. So that's part of the site plan as well.
So just one more quick comment, I guess. Nothing that we've shown is outside of current zoning restrictions, doesn't exceed any square footage requirements or maximums. So it's really just a question of site plan approval as it's laid out today.
Thank you.
I'm happy to answer any questions if y'all may have.
This time I'll close it. Oh, excuse me. For any further comments, sir?
There's another, I'm a little bit more confused. I don't know the definition of a quasi-traffic study that's been reported has been done. So I just hope y'all take into consideration exactly what's going on with this. I realize that, there's going to have to be some, as far as egress to the site, I just want to call your attention that it's going to have to be on Greenbrier Boulevard. That's one of the entrances, okay, that has to take place. And then the other one is actually on 21. And I'm going to tell you, I got to compliment them because they jammed a lot in here, okay? They jammed, and nothing else, they're not wasting 1 inch. So good job, guys.
This time we'll close it to the public and bring it to the commission. Commissioner Lauren.
Yes, I have one question real quick. I hope I'm reading this. I'm getting confused with these drawings tonight. But if I'm reading it right, to the extreme west side of the parking area, they've got 4 handicap spaces.
Okay.
Which seems to be kind of negating the purpose of a handicap place. You're going to have the handicapped people parking way around in the back.
There's 2 buildings on the piece of property. So if you're looking at the sheet, kind of plan left and right, let's go with that. On the left side all the way what will be the back of the property, furthest from 21, is a proposed retail.
Okay, that's for the retail.
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's not for your property.
No, that's on our property as well.
Okay, that's on your
Two
property as
buildings.
well.
Two buildings proposed. And then in front, there's the smaller convenience store.
Okay.
One site, two buildings.
Thank you.
Commissioner Randolph.
In this plan, Mr. Ritter, the convenience store to our right will accommodate the pumps in the middle, or the pumps will accommodate both the retail and the convenience store?
The pumps are strictly for the convenience center. If you just kind of have to imagine, it's an out parcel kind of setup, except it's not a true out parcel. So if you can picture a convenience store gas station with a retail center behind it, 200 feet back, that's kind of how this is set up. So in fact, there's a little bit of fall across the site, so they're actually kind of staggered in height a little bit, and that the natural grade just allows us to do that.
Commissioner Fitzmaurice.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Fitzmaurice to approve, second by Commissioner Dougherty. Any further comments? Got a motion by Commissioner Fitzmaurice to approve, second by Commissioner Dougherty. Please vote. Motion carries. Thank you. CP02-08-076 PR, use Ochsner Hospital, variance to reduce the front buffer along Highway 21. Corridor, Highway 21 planned corridor overlay, zoning MD3 Medical Facility District, parcel 98,000 square feet. Petitioner, Duplantis Design Group, Thomas Buckle. Owner, Ochsner Clinic Foundation, Eric Ferris. Parcels located in the southwest corner of Louisiana Highway 21 and Ochsner Boulevard, Ward 1, District 1. Staff?
Petitioner is requesting a variance to reduce the required 199-foot front buffer along Highway 21 to a 50-foot buffer to allow for better visibility of the Ochsner Hospital. The request is also to allow for the removal of the underbrush and all trees of 5 inches or smaller within the existing heavily wooded front buffer, as shown in the attached survey. Note that all hardwoods trees will be maintained within the existing green space area, and all trees over 6 inches and caliper will be maintained within a 50-foot buffer along Highway 21 and along the 30-foot buffer along Ochsner Boulevard. Staff does not have any objection to the requested variance, considering that the site will remain, for the most part, wooded and undeveloped with the minimum 50-foot required buffer. And staff would like to recommend approval of this proposal subject to all the conditions that are listed on the staff report.
Thank you. Yes, sir. Please state your name and address for the record.
Good evening. My name is David Lazare with Duplantis Design Group. Tommy Buckle couldn't be here today, so I'm here on his behalf. Address 32 Louis Prima Drive, Covington, Louisiana. I'm representing Eric Ferris with the Ochsner Clinic Foundation. I'm going to repeat a couple of items Helen had mentioned, but we were requesting a variance to reduce the front landscape setback along the Highway 21 from approximately 199 feet to 50 feet. The existing property depth, as you can see from this exhibit, is vast. It's 1,887 feet, resulting in the 199-foot setback. Which we believe makes the setback somewhat excessive. The intention is to remove the underbrush across the 5.4-acre project area, as well as the majority of the pine trees. The purpose of the proposed clearing is to create a better line of sight from Highway 21 to the existing Ochsner Health Center. I have 3 sample pictures of a similar Ochsner property located in Baton Rouge at the I-10 and O'Neill Lane intersection. The cleared area will be mowed and maintained by RCI Landscaping approximately 20 times a year. There's currently no planned development associated with the project area, and the area in question will remain wooded with existing hardwoods. At the request of the St. Tammany Parish Planning Department, we received additional survey of the entire project area, which picked up all existing hardwoods. I have a copy of that as well, if anyone would like to see a large version of it. This survey will be utilized in the proposed clearing plans and further coordination with St. Tammany Parish Planning.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the public who wishes to speak in favor of the request? Is there anyone in the public who wishes to speak in opposition? Hearing none, I close it to the public and I bring it to the commission. Out of the abundance of caution, I will recuse myself from any discussion or voting. I sit on Slidell Memorial Hospital's Board of Commissioners and have a relationship with Auctioner. Commissioner Davis.
Yeah, a question for the gentleman.
Yes, sir.
So from Oshner, the first 150 feet will be clear cut and you'll leave the next 50 feet, is what you're saying, by the hospital?
No, sir.
Or is vice versa?
At this point, no locations will be clear cut. What they're proposing to do, what they're proposing to do is clear the underbrush across the project area, which is this portion here. Underbrush being any trees or vines that are under, that are not 6 inches or greater.
So you are leaving all the hardwoods in that area?
Yes, sir, that is the plan.
In the entire area?
Yes, sir.
That entire, okay. I'll make a motion to approve. Second.
Motion by Commissioner Davis to approve, second by Commissioner Fitzmaurice. Any further comments? Please vote. Motion carries, 1 abstention. Any old business to come before the commission? Any new business to come before the commission? Motion to adjourn. Photo record.